Tony Dunn, ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
Welcome in. Happy holidays, Panther fans. Welcome back to the C3 Panthers Podcast, the longest running Panthers podcast out there. I know everybody's hustling and bustle to the holidays, man. And so we wish everybody a safe journey, I guess, in that hustle and bustle. Guys, just be careful driving around out there. Crazy, man. As we all hustle to get our last-minute Christmas gifts, go spend some time with your family. And welcome back to hanging out with my Panther family on a Tuesday night. Kind of recovering from a gut punch, the wind being knocked out of myself after a 24-16 loss by the Panthers at home against the Steelers. So kind of just sobering moment as we've had the wind slightly taken out of our sails. We're preparing for the Detroit Lions and what could be the coldest game in Panther history at Bank of America, and see how they're going to kind of throttle or hold back that clicking Detroit Lions offense. I'm going to do that with my best buddies. Cody Lashley in the house. How you doing, my man?
Tony Dunn. The holiday seasons are here, man. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to all you boys, Tony, CK, and Greg. You know I love you boys. And to the C3 family, man. Listen, don't just be thankful during the holidays. Be thankful year-round and be thankful for the breath that you have. And you know what else I'm thankful for? I'm thankful for these Carolina Panthers and how bipolar they are. But the fact that we love them so much, man, dude, thankful for my team, happy for them. And, we have a very big matchup, a brawl between big cats going down at BOA this Saturday. Man, this is do or die if there ever was for the Carolina Panthers. And you already know that we're going to do it with some of the best Panther fans in all of YouTube. Our man, Drew, Chad Howell, Eric 37, Fear the Panthers, Skunk 8 Mysteries, Tim Estes, Tony Dunn, short roll call today. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. Let's roll.
CK, you got your Christmas shopping done yet?
Yeah, as best as I can, man. As you start to grow your family and everything, everybody knows this. It makes it a little harder to start to buy for the people you used to as you're, when you were younger and whatnot. And so that always makes you feel bad at Christmas. But for the most part, the people that are needing a gift from me have definitely got theirs in order already. So super happy about that. But man, I tell you what, this year has flown by.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, that's a kind of a crazy part about the football season is like all off season, we just can't wait for football season to get here. And then as you're in football season, it's almost like being on vacation. And once you hit like that almost halfway point of vacation, like you start going from I have these many days, I'm on vacation for 7 days to saying I have 3 days left. Right. I got 2 days left. And that's where we're at with NFL football, is that it almost seems like, man, you only got 15 weeks left, 12 weeks left, and we're down to the short hairs. But what's wild about this, Greg, is we've actually, strangely, if you think about the trajectory of this team, we've been we're on our third different quarterback. We've fired our head coach. We've had an interim coach. We've released our defensive coordinator. We've had a slew of transition, and somehow the Panthers, and they didn't win, but they were 1-5, I think, or 1-4 to start the season. And then somehow it's Christmas Eve and Panthers are moderately relevant, Greg. Right. Wild. What a kind of a zany season for it being like what should be an awful season.
Yeah, and you nailed it right there, man. It's been a roller coaster. I know I've gone through so many emotions this season. I believe I started thinking we were going to win 11 or 12 games at the beginning of the season prediction to like 5 games in. I was like, all right, let's worry about the number 1 or 2 draft pick. To now I'm at the point of let's win the NFC South. And us being relevant right now makes a difference. When there's 3 or 4 weeks left and you're not relevant, it's just like agonizing to watch football for that much longer because you just want to see playoff football and your team's done. But we still have a pretty decent shot of winning the NFC South. So it makes everything more relevant whenever that happens.
Yeah,
But
at
this
least
season's
that
definitely been a roller coaster.
it could have been over last week. It could have been over the week before.
hmm
And you can look at even just the viewership down right on the show right now. The post-game show was a little quieter than last week. You know, part of that, or a lot of that, is arguably the holidays and the bustle that comes with that as people are preparing for their last minute at their work and at homes for the holidays. But that loss to the Steelers was, you know, a sobering loss because we're right back to being on the precipice of that question being answered for us, right? But ultimately, the Bucks fell and kept us. Someone else's failure helped our, you know, we're looking over at, you know, have an argument with your wife. You look across the street and you see that family's divorced, and you're like, man, we're not there yet. The Bucks fail, like hardships have helped us internalize our own hardships. So we're gonna be talking about all that tonight. We want to get your thoughts on what you've thought about overall the season, or have you been thankful for this season? That's what we could ask. Have you been thankful for this season? What are you thankful about when it comes to the 2022-23 Carolina Panther team? Are you thankful, obviously? Are you thankful about BRAWL? Are you thankful about Mayfield sputtering out and everywhere that he's been? Are you thankful that you've had a competitive season regardless of that draft pick? The number's 252-228-5098. That's 252-228-5098. And don't forget, the C3 Panthers podcast is sponsored by Manscaped. They're the number one men's grooming product in below the belt grooming, I guess is what you would say. They got a lot of great stuff, great products that you can get, from the Lawnmower 4.0 to the Weed Whacker ear and nose trimmer to the wonderful male, like like hygiene products of like the Crop Preserver, the Crop Reviver, right? And my favorite is when you get the premium package, you get this awesome men's leather shaving bag, right? Toiletry bag you can take on the road. And I always feel like this is when I put my toiletry bag in beside my wife's when we're going on a trip, that it like holds up. I'm like, you know what? I look like I'm prepared. I look like I'm keeping my stuff together when I'm usually just throwing crap in the bag at the last second, and always wearing a bunch of Panthers gear and C3 gear in the process. So you guys check out Manscaped products. Use the promo code Panthers. You get free shipping and 20% off. That's international shipping, 20% off your order. And you know what? Valentine's Day is coming up after this. I know it's hard to think about gift giving and present buying with just 5 days until Christmas. But you guys, ladies, need to be preparing, thinking about something that you can get your husbands, your boyfriends for Valentine's Day that is useful. Men like useful gifts.
Agreed.
Right? It's like we like things that are useful, and Manscaped products are useful and they work great. So promo code Panthers. Cody Lack, let's get into the show. What we got up first? He's on mute. Mute. Tonight's show is Carolina.
Yeah, what am I, Greg?
Yeah, here. Well, let me go ahead and set it up then. Tonight's show is Carolina Panthers set to take on the Detroit Lions in a Big Cat Brawl. Let's hit up with the first topic, Cody.
Yeah, man. So first, it's a little bit of a post-mortem of some things that happened this past Sunday. You know, we've all felt like the offensive line was out of sorts, especially compared to what we've seen earlier this season. When asked about it, Bradley Bozeman said, "We take a lot of pride in what we do and who we are, and our identity being a smash mouth offense. When it doesn't go that way, it's frustrating because you know you have the capability to do it, especially when you know you kind of cut off there and do it on a certain group. You take it personally. It hurts. We had family in town, and it's like, I love you guys, but we're going to move on from football today. It's one of those things you have to take it with a grain of salt, process it, get to the film, look at it. It's never bad as it feels in the moment. and it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So really, you have the Panthers and Steve Wilkes kind of going through and saying that they got away from the fundamentals of football, things that they were doing earlier in the year that made them successful. They just kind of got out of sorts. Everyone was trying to make a play. Thereby, they weren't really a gap sound football team. And that's kind of what Steve Wilkes and some of the Panthers had to say. My question that I'll relate to this is it too late for the Panthers to go back and harp on fundamentals? Like, how much more fundamentally sound as a football team can you get in week 16 of the NFL season?
Well, I know at one point, Cody, he said that he was ready to get the pads back on. If you go down, and I was just trying to get what we could in that little clip without overdoing the quoting, but he goes on afterwards to say that they're really excited to get their pads back on. And what will be the last padded practice of the season, I think he said, which was kind of wild, and fully padded practice, and just kind of get mean with it. And so I think when you hear Bradley Bozeman responding to this, is that this was more of like a integrity check, I think, for these guys than anything. Is that while I know that fundamentals and the small things, making sure you're being disciplined, fundamentals as much as a mental game as it is something a practice game. So this is maybe they were buying into themselves a little bit too much. Maybe they got a little too loose with a lot of the compliments that were starting to surround them. And they got mentally sloppy a bit. That's all I could say. I mean, I don't know if that's the best way of saying it but discipline is a mental sharpness. And maybe that they saw this as like, hey, we didn't play well. We weren't awful at everything. We're not going to sit here and say we suck, but we're better than this. So this really felt like an integrity check for me, for Bradley Bozeman, and what these guys are kind of owning up to. They're starting to step into the role that this offensive line should be good. And that's a kind of a perspective and an attitude that I don't know if many offensive lines that the Panthers that we've seen lately have had, that there's an expectation that they are good. And this is about mental discipline, getting back. And like he said, let's get these pads back on and get mean with it. Yeah. And I like that he's not backing down right here, but nor is he rolling over.
Yeah, and look, I don't really have too much to say about this other than, to be honest, when I look back at our worst loss of the season, I think we can all agree it was the Cincinnati Bengals, just for how bad that game was. And knowing that we were on the road, we had such a terrible performance, and that yet the Panthers were still able to bounce back even after that game against the Bengals, that gives me a little more hope after this loss versus Pittsburgh. It wasn't as bad of a loss. We didn't get absolutely trounced like we did against the Cincinnati game. And I think we're just going to have to bounce back. And we're going to have to bounce back in a big way. Whether or not we do it is going to be big on these players and big on our coaches. But it's gut check time. We're about to go over where we stand in the division. And we can go out of order a little bit. But right now, effectively, nothing really changed in the NFC South. The Panthers are still one game behind Tampa Bay. The Saints are behind us at number 3, and the Falcons are at number 4. And all three of us, the Panthers, the Saints, and the Falcons, all have the same record. So listen, for as up and down as this team has been, we really have no choice but to get back to fundamentals, boys. We're still in it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like I almost feel, I don't know how to feel about this team in so many ways. It's like, I almost feel like we've already exceeded my expectations in a wild way, to where I'm playing with house money with this season at this point. Mm-hmm. You go back 5 weeks ago, I don't think I would have even felt like, I don't know. I don't know if I feel that bad about this team, I guess. But we should maybe feel bad about this defense in a way, guys. I know that that's kind of what we've hung our hat on a lot with this team. But you brought up the worst game of the season, and they got shellacked, bro, by the Bengals and Joe Mixon. They didn't even have Jamar Chase. Like, they just did whatever they wanted against us. And then last week, that the Pittsburgh offense really dictated the terms of that game so much, and our defense just couldn't stand up. And I look back at some of the drives, Cody, and some of the different things, and I was ready to go, oh, Trubisky didn't beat us. This guy didn't beat us. You know what? They just beat us every which way. Like, if you look at the drives, it's like, oh, they're going to run the ball on third down. They're going to throw the ball on third down. They're going to throw the ball on second down. They're going to run the ball. They just did everything. Not a single receiver went over 100 yards. Not a single run. The running back didn't excel incredibly. 86 yards, I think, by whatever his name, Najee Harris. And then Trubisky only had like 160 yards. They just beat us at everything, the passing game, the run game, third down. And that defense has gotten beat up a couple of times this season in those games that have been very important to us, namely the Bengals game, namely the Steelers game as of late. And now they got to play the Detroit Lions coming in who who have had one of the better offenses in all of the league. So it's been a wild season in so many ways. And that's kind of how. CK, your thoughts on that before we keep going?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad to see there's some accountability and you know, to focus on Bradley Bozeman. I mean, I think that he's saying all the right things, and it's clear to me he's a guy that you keep on this team. I mean, I know we've talked about it time and time again, but I know these are just things that people say when they play football, but I'm more than willing to accept that this offensive line feels different than anything that I've seen in the past decade. And I love that accountability, and I love the fact that they recognize that they are better than maybe people were anticipating them to be coming into the year.
Yeah. This defense, though, like, and kind of doing some more post-mortem on that defense, as Cody said, is one of the things that killed us was third down conversions, and a lot of big ones, or at least visually high profile moments of the game, were kind of decent passes by Trubisky picking up yards. And I mean, I know the 3rd and 14 late in that game is the one that comes to mind immediately for everybody, with Keith Taylor just kind of getting worked in man coverage. I know that he has been a kind of a punching bag of Panther fans going through, but the inability to generate any pressure, being a man in that situation, you know, there's a lot of things that were going on in that play. But a lot of people were highlighting the fact that some were saying, oh, now y'all shitting on CJ Henderson. Are y'all shitting on CJ Henderson now? Are they doing all this? And Greg had a great line in the post game where he said, just because the backup didn't play well doesn't mean that the guy ahead of him is that good either,
Right.
just because he's absent. And then you get this, it's kind of wild. So it started as the discussion of CJ Henderson and why, you know, was he going to be ready to play? And this came out today, I think, where it looks like CJ Henderson could have gone. This is on Panthers.com right now. Wilkes expressed confidence in Taylor moving forward, Keith Taylor, but when asked about Henderson could have potentially returned, Wilkes replied, that is a question for him. I think when you have an opportunity to see him in the locker room, you need to ask him that. And then he goes,
is this a Robbie Anderson on defense?
It says this, they go and asked CJ Henderson, and he said, I probably could have. Would I have risked more games? I don't know. Now, he's not a very talkative guy. Here is Steve Wilkes. I want you guys to get, when I read this, I immediately said, oh God, I don't like the way this sounds, but I need to hear some tone, you know, of like, is this just a clip of something that people were trying to essentially write in a way that makes me think this way or something. And then I was considering, this is, I think, Darren Gant on Panthers.com. So he's going to be very team organization and player friendly. So I was like, man, I got to hear how this goes. Let me see if I can play this and make sure you guys get the audio with it. Share audio. This is Steve Wilkes talking about it.
And, good to get back out there and dust it off a little bit, but we're definitely a long way.
Can y'all hear that?
Need to be on Sunday.
Yes.
Excuse me, on
Okay.
Saturday. So
Barely though. I mean,
work in progress. Looking forward to getting back out there tomorrow, putting the pads on. And with that, I'll take your questions.
News on CJ then today, he was out there full.
He was out there moving around well. Looked good, no setbacks. So we'll see exactly how it goes day to day.
You've returned to that game. Maybe if it was a playoff game, is that like a?
Like I can't. That's a question for him. So
That's it. So that's the clip. Hopefully you guys could hear it. Okay. But like I don't feel great about the way this sounded. I don't know. What do you guys think about it?
you're not wrong. And this adds another part of, this is another part of the narrative around CJ Henderson. Whether we like it or not, it was around how much did he love football. And when your coach goes out of the way and says, no, that's a question for him, I think you have to ask him. That's basically saying, oh, hey, that was a decision on him. And then when asked about it, he said after getting checked out by the athletic training staff, he wasn't necessarily ruled out of the game, but he never felt comfortable either. Probably could have. Would I have risked more games? I don't know, Henderson said. So he's sort of making this out like, well, I'm not going to go in there and risk further injury and not be available down the road. But damn it, didn't we need CJ Henderson versus Pittsburgh? Considering how bad Taylor was getting absolutely burned in that game. I mean, what do we think here? That, hey, listen, even if you're a little bit hurt, hey, man, suck it up. You're playing football. Is it an old school mentality here? Does he have an obligation to get back on the field and go and play for his team, even though he might be hurt? Or did he do the right thing? Maybe it is going to be better to have him more down the road rather than one performance against Pittsburgh. Me personally, I fall on the former. I'm kind of disappointed in CJ. I know Greg's kind of been a detractor of CJ. I'm a fan of him, but I don't like this move, man. I just feel like if you're able to go out there and play football and the medical staff clears you, you need to go and play ball.
Yeah, I want to jump on this real quick because he is 1,000% accountable and responsible and has a responsibility for going on the field if he's able to play. Now, I don't know the guy's injury, so I'm not calling him out for that. But if the medical staff clears you, you're getting paid, right? If you're getting paid for it, you're 1,000% responsible. If you feel like you could have made a difference. Now, if you're the guy, I respect a player not playing injured to preserve their career if they feel like they have a career that's more than maybe a second string top tier, in their position ever. CJ Henderson has not been built up to, or at least fulfilled the expectations he was supposed to have on any level when he got drafted or when he got traded. Like, he's had a couple of good plays in a few years. That's it. This guy does not need to preserve himself. He needs to prove himself. If I'm him, I'm out there playing, trying to. You play for a contract right here. Sitting for a contract is not in your wheelhouse because you are not that type of player. People are not sitting around waiting for your contract to run up so they can try to sign you. You haven't proven anything. So
fair point.
Yeah, he's 1,000% responsible for going out there and making his name because he hasn't done it yet.
I guess what ultimately is just surprising when you hear these stories is when the coaches think they can go. Is that it's one thing. I know that this is probably always a sort of decision that any player has to deal with at any moment when it comes to an injury, is how do you truly heal the right way to where when you get back, you're the most effective, right? How do you also get back as soon as possible to help your team when you can. It always seems like I don't know. I just feel like usually the coaching staff and the players are more lockstep in the messaging about that than in this case. And that's kind of the surprise part to me is that Wilkes is over there going, we're here trying to get crap done. You're over there walking around the locker room looking fine, but you're saying your ankle ain't right. And
Yeah.
that's a call out. And Steve, to be honest, Steve Wilkes has not been hesitant to call out players. And this might be the most confrontational in an individual way, other than the Robbie Anderson moment. But he has challenged players. And he's challenged players to stars. And remember, he said that thing too, that he said, I'm not here to be your buddy. I'm here to be your friend. I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. I'm telling you what you need to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is CJ Henderson hasn't been what's wild is that we really even care this much about CJ Henderson because he usually is being talked shit about.
Well, I mean, keep in mind that we gave up draft picks for him, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
CK, what say you, man?
And CJ Henderson is such an enigma, dude. I just
Hey, it's
like
good work, yeah.
the beginning of the year, he was a huge liability. It felt like he has gotten better and better, but I hesitate in saying anything because I also understand that these people are human beings.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I agree.
If I have a bad back, like I don't care what the fuck my work tells me, I'm gonna rest my back. I'd rather be alive and be able to play with my kids until I'm 60, 70 years old instead of risking.
Well, you can't be a football player then.
Right. But my point being is like, if there was a real, like if he felt like he couldn't go, then fine. Right. I don't really have the ability to sit here and say that he's wrong in that. The part that I am concerned about is Steve Wilkes' comments.
Yeah, that's how I feel too.
Not so much about like that CJ Henderson just gave up, but that Steve Wilkes is saying that.
Yes.
Like I feel like that's almost in poor taste.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? It's just like if a guy is hurt, like the last thing again, and this is context. Context is everything. We're basing this off of a text that I read that you sent. I didn't watch the entire thing. So it's hard for me to make a judgment call on this, but I don't think that CJ Henderson, I mean, I would like to think that he hasn't just given up on his team, but I just feel like that's such an awkward thing to do as a coach to say, you got to go ask him why he didn't play.
Well,
You know what I mean?
also just to remind people too, well, I think you got to know a little bit about the player and the relationship with the coach and different things. One is CJ Henderson's such a kind of soft-spoken, reserved, not likes to open up. Like, you're going to ask, let's just say he was not.
He's a different kind of cat.
No, he's just not a good interview.
He's a Robbie Anderson of defense.
No, he's like he doesn't want to talk. Like, it's like you ask him questions, you want him to open up, and he's like, did you have a good Christmas? And it's just like, yeah. You really gotta coax the conversation out of him. So people are probably wanting him to say more on this, and he goes, yeah, I probably could have gone, but I didn't. And it was just like that. That was his only thing he said on it. But you also need to remember too that Steve Wilkes, one of the few times that CJ Henderson has opened up to us as a player was when he talked about Steve Wilkes.
Right.
Take him out to dinner when he became the coach here. And he said he had never had a professional coach in his career, like really personalize the relationship in that way. And so they do have some sort of, their relationship hasn't been bad,
right,
historically. So maybe this is kind of the tough, it's either in poor taste, right, as CK has said, it's either CJ Henderson being a little I guess not really caring to come back as much, or this is a little tough love that a guy like this might need.
My final question, if it was in poor taste, then how else could Steve Wilkes have handled this? Like what was like if you put yourself in his position. Say you're the coach, your medical staff is telling both you and the player that he's able to go, but the player
Right.
is the one that's like, nah. As the coach,
Well, they
how
said
do
it's
you
your
handle that?
decision.
Right, but here's the way I
Right.
would handle it if I'm Steve Wilkes in that case, right? Because you're right. I mean, we don't know what was going on. If we think for a second that Steve Wilkes didn't know what was going on there, then we're overestimating him as a coach. But we know that that's not the case. He's gonna have an idea about what's going on in this team, right? And so he knew exactly what was happening. All he had to say was CJ just didn't feel like he could go. He felt like that angle was a problem, and he just didn't feel comfortable, with the way that it felt. I think that's fair. I think that's something that makes sense, and I think that it doesn't put like a nasty taste in your mouth. I think that should have been the way that it was handled. Now, again, none of us are in that locker room. None of us were on that bench, and none of us know exactly what was said to who. So to come out here and say anything that we know for certain one way or another, we're basically just reading context clues. Nobody on this panel is saying CJ Henderson is for sure a bum, right? We don't know that. I mean, as far as from what happened on that day. Now, as far as this play, you can do that.
That's what the whole point of this podcast is for us to talk about stuff like this, though.
Exactly. And I just want to make that clear to people, because I don't want people to think that just because Greg says that doesn't mean that we're sitting here saying this is all set in stone. We know we're human beings, and we understand that this is all speculative and quite honestly doesn't mean anything. But it doesn't look great from just the outside
for
looking
anybody.
in.
Yeah, for anybody. I think that's a fair point.
Yep.
And to probably, I wonder if it shows any mounting pressure. I think Steve Wilkes, to be honest, I have read on his face and his emotions how much he is trying to get this to work. And I think he truly believes like he needs to get this to work to have a job.
Right.
This is he's got to do more than anybody. That kind of typical, actually, the real
that's a great
discussion.
Point,
the real discussion that people have when it comes to minority coaches or minorities in the world, in sense, is not that opportunity doesn't exist. It's just that it takes more to prove that opportunity is deserved to people like Wilkes. Like, that's the whole point of the lawsuit, probably, and things like that. And so I think he knows that this is his moment. There isn't a moment going forward. And I read it a little bit, and just his investment. It's not a bad thing. When we lost that Falcons game in overtime,
right,
he melted on the sidelines, and not like in an emotional way, but you could see he could feel the importance of it. And I think that's kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah. No, I have nothing else to add. That's a great point. I mean, maybe he felt a little bit like, hey, I'm fighting for y'all. I need y'all to fight for me. I don't know. Either way, it's just conjecture. We really have no way of knowing. But
that's what we're here to talk about. Let's conject some more.
That's what the C3 Panthers podcast does. So, boys, I want to talk about two contract extensions that are coming up for the Panthers and talk about them in a little bit more detail. These next two slides are courtesy of Crave.com, by the way, where you can also find the C3 Panthers podcast. Shout out to catcrave.com, but did some analyzing, and according to Spotrac.com, center Bradley Bozeman's market value in 2023 will be $12 million per year, a 3-year deal, $36 million. That would put him as the fourth highest paid center amongst all centers. My question to the panel, are you buying or selling? Are you giving Bradley Bozeman this type of contract to stay the center for the Carolina Panthers? I would like to kindly go first. This is a resounding hell yes, man. For years, Tony and I have been on this show saying we have to build a great wall of Carolina. We have finally done it. And this is one of the cornerstones of the Great Wall of Carolina. It is absolutely important, maybe the most important free agent signing that the Carolina Panthers can make is to sign Bradley Bozeman and his wonderful wife to an extension with the Carolina Panthers so they can continue to be a great extension of this organization, both off and on the football field. Like my man JD says, pay that man.
100% agree. Give him the bag. This is the guy you need to shore up your line. This is the guy you need for your culture. 100% agree. This guy needs to be on the team. Give him the bag.
Agreed.
Wow. Tony?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're gonna have to say that right now, until there's some other information that tells us otherwise. And what I mean by that is you have a couple of options right here. You can re-sign Bradley Bozeman. You can go and assign another free agent, right? You could bring back Eflin, right, which is the third, right? Or you could go high in the draft in the second round and get a center that you think can start from day one. I think that the former being re-signed Bradley Bozeman is going to probably get you. It might be a little bit more expensive at the position than you wish you were paying for at the moment, but it would keep you the most sound going forward, right? To where all the other ones would be a threatened regression in some form or manner. And so right now, unless I see some center free agent out there that someone can argue to me is an upgrade on the actual field, I think not only do you have to re-sign them, but you have to re-sign them at really fair market value, like, because he's just played pretty dang well. And we'll need to see what he does in the last couple of games. But each game going forward, there's a reason he's talking to the reporters right there. He's another guy that knows the importance of this season and the next couple of weeks going forward. And why do you think he wants to bounce back so much this week after last week's performance? Because each week of good tape means more and more reassurance he deserves this money.
Yeah.
Ooh,
go ahead, Greg.
I got a question for y'all with this. If you had to pick one and you had to sign one as a top 5 money player, would you sign Brian Burns or Bradley Bozeman as a top 5 player? Money. That's a tough question, ain't it?
Well, but it's also a little bit redundant because I think at this point you have to pay them both. Like we've already gone over with the fact that we didn't trade Brian Burns. You have to pay Brian now. You're gonna have to pay Brian. The part of the reason why I really want to re-sign Bozeman is not only because he is an incredible player, but now that we got those draft picks back from the CMC trade, and now that we have assets to use during the draft, I don't want to go after positions that are playing well for the Panthers right now. I don't want to draft another center. I want to use it on a linebacker, or I want to use it on another defensive end or a safety, or another wide receiver to pair with DJ Moore and Terrace Marshall Jr. now that we have no more Robbie Anderson. More tools to help this Panthers team take the next step. So I don't know. I want to see both of these dudes. That's hard to pick, Greg.
Yeah, I agree. I want to see both of them too. That's what I just mean. If you're going to give top 5 money, you can only give it to one. Who would it be?
Well, I think
that's
you mean
a tough question.
I think giving Bozeman top 5 money would be, a little great, like quick to grace him with that kind of money. You know what I'm saying? Like, is like one semi good year. That wasn't even the entire season. We're gonna say, all right. Brian Burns is giving us more tape and more stuff to say, yes, top 5. But here's the good news, and this is why Bozeman should be considering that centers are cheaper.
Agreed.
That like they're not even in the same stratosphere, really, probably, of playing like the money from a top 5 defensive end. If you could pay a top 5 center and still get another free agent that you pay well, you pay the defensive end's going to take a lot of the money. I think at this point we're probably in the place right now that the actual conversation is the same for Brian Burns as it is for Bradley Bozeman, is the Panthers need to re-sign them regardless of what you guys think, what anyone thinks about the money and the value, because without them, the team has got even more holes and more things to fill. And then you're
Right.
either spinning your wheels forever or you're going backwards to try to go forward.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And by the way, before we move on to the to our segment, Code Dizzle's man, Spectral One Actual says, "Let's go C3. P.S. Code Dizzle the GOAT. With them 10 Aussie dollars.
Fair argument, yeah.
With them 10 Aussie dollars. Appreciate you, Spectral A1. Code Dizzle.
Oh, yeah.
You got a fan base, bro. Next up, similar questioning, but for a different player. This is none other than Don Foreman. You know, we've been talking about him a lot this year. He's been a standout player. You know,
2023 wasn't a good year for the Carolina Panthers, but I'm trying to make 2024 a better one for myself. Get started on your resolutions with Factor so you're ready for the new year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including keto options, calorie smart, vegan plus veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your resolutions. Skip that overpriced takeout trap. Factor is cheaper and way more delicious than takeout. Get chef-crafted, restaurant-quality meals delivered right to your door, and they're ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, which means more time for you. Head to factormeals.com/C350 and use the promo code C350 to get 50% off. That's code C350 at factormeals.com/C350 to get 50% off.
been debating him and McCaffrey. That's a whole nother debate for a different time. This right here says via spotrac.com, Donta Foreman's annual market value in 2023 will be a 1-year, $3 million deal that would put him at number 22 among all running backs. Now, this seems kind of cheap on its surface.
Yes, it does. You can't,
But-
this poor guy.
But given we have been talking about with running backs, and you see Chuba Hubbard playing decent, you see Blackshear playing decent, and we just came off of this whole debate about paying running backs. Do we go and shell out more dollars that could be spent towards more important positions, or do you just bring back Foreman as kind of a deal?
Hold on, I got to pull up Blackshear and Hubbard's stats, because you just said they're both playing decent. I think you're thinking about one game. They're not playing decent this year, so we don't need to consider.
I'm
Deontay
talking
Foreman's-
about Foreman, like getting
I'm
the
saying,
money.
I'm
you-
saying
if
we
you
don't
don't
need
bring
to
back-
judge Foreman's performance based on what they're doing. They've had one good game this year, and
Yeah.
Blackshear's wasn't even a fantastic game. It was a third string running back game that he played well. So I'm going to look at the stats real quick, but
If you
I
don't
push back on
sign
the fact
Deont-
that they've played well.
If you don't sign Donta Foreman, you have two options. You have to either go get another running back in free agency, or you have to draft one. And they got to be and you got to be comfortable that they can play a significant role, because you're not walking into next season with Chuba Hubbard and
Right.
Blackshear saying we got this.
Right.
No, I think the other thing that's wild about this is, folks, this is why, and kids out there listening, this is why you need to just learn how to kick the football and be a field goal kicker. This poor guy, Donta Foreman, gone out there and put his body on the line harder than anybody. And Bradley Bozeman's going to get paid. All these other guys are going to get paid,
He'll
and they're
get
going
1
to come
year,
up to
$3
this
million.
guy. You're going to say, here's $1 million,
Yeah.
and thank you for your service or whatever. It's just, I would be fine with this. I'm hoping Donta Foreman gets more than this in the NFL. I don't know if it's here But I would be hoping that if I was him, I'd be trying to sign like that Mike Davis deal where you're getting
Right,
like
Tony.
$6 million.
But Tony,
Yeah.
that's if you're him. Now, take this from the perspective that you're the Panthers, because I'm gonna come out a little
Then
bit
he's going to go be a
controversial.
Texans running back.
I mean, look, I'm gonna be a little bit controversial.
49ers.
I don't think I am gonna resign Foreman, and it's not because he's a bad player. It's just because I think that you can replace running back production. He is a very good football player. I take nothing away from him. And okay, Greg, even if it's not Chuba Hubbard and Blackshear, I think I think that Kyle Shanahan and a lot of other coaches and NFL teams have shown you that you can reproduce similar production from running backs that have been gone undrafted. So listen, if he's willing to come back on a cheap deal and we can afford something like this,
That
then
is a
fine.
cheap deal.
It is, but I would say any other position that we could spend on the defensive line or the offensive line, that's much more where I would rather spend our money.
Right. And you make a very good point there. And this deal right here, 1 year, $3 million, that's a team-friendly deal. That's a prove-it deal right there. If he's willing to sign that, you've got to take him. Because I'm looking at Chuba Hubbard stats, 59 rushes, 260 yards this year. Blackshear stats, 19 rushes, 73 yards this year. So I don't think you
not
can
a lot
move,
of touches.
If he'll take this, I don't think you can move forward.
I don't think he should take it if I was him. If
I
I was him, I would go
maybe
play for a different team for a little bit more money than that.
But
And
if
try
he
to get
will-
a
if he-
$5 million deal that's over 2 or 3 years or something.
He may
instead
be
of
betting on
that.
himself, though. He may be betting on himself. If he takes a 1 year, $3 million deal, because come on, seriously, I know it's
This
one
is
year,
his third
3
stop,
million.
man.
Who can't live off $3 million though? Seriously,
This is his
1 year,
third
$3 million.
stop.
Then for the big bag next year.
No,
Because
this
Carolina
is his
needs to
third
fill that
stop.
hole.
This is he's only got one more stop, and you're
He's
never going
probably
to hear
never going to
Donta
get a
Foreman's
big
name.
bag.
Maybe, but if he takes this deal next year and he gets 1,200 yards, are we going to sign him to a 3-4 year deal for
No,
middle of the line
No.
run? No,
nope.
no,
Nope.
for 1,200 yards next year.
He ain't
And
going to
10
do that.
touchdowns.
That's just not going to happen. That's just
Why
not
is he
how
not going to do
players
that?
like this
He's
work.
only played half the season this year, and he already has 646 yards and 4 touchdowns. Like, why would he not do that?
My
Nothing
question
says he
is,
wouldn't,
who would
know?
pay him more?
Oh, there's
I don't know.
got to be a lot of teams around the league that have a little bit more wiggle room at that position group in the money that they could allocate over the next 2 years than the Panthers do.
I'm just saying, if he did not perform that much better than everybody else on the team, I could see what you're saying and maybe go for a draft or look in the free agency. But because he's been that much better, and if you would look at his stats for the entire year and play that out for the entire year, he's a 1,200-yard, 10-touchdown running back.
He'd
That's
be
a guy
great
that
in
you want on your team.
Pittsburgh. He'd be great in Pittsburgh. He would fit in as a good complement to Najee Harris in some ways. Imagine that.
He's a
He
starting
would
running back,
fit.
dude.
New England could use him, I bet. There's a
It would
lot
have
of
to
teams
be a
out
1 year
there.
deal. I would never sign
Yeah.
him to more than
A
1
prove-it
year
deal.
to be
A
a player.
prove-it
I'm
deal.
not saying
Like I
we
said,
should
$3
sign
million
him. I'm saying
under
that
his belt.
he's gonna. What did Mike Davis
Why
get?
not?
Just look at. All right, enough of this. It's enough talk about that. What's next?
He's a great running back, but I think that position's been.
No, I think that's
devalued
fair.
a
I
lot.
think that's fair that you don't want to allocate that money. I'm just thinking he should try
Yeah.
to get more than that.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a player, you should try and be getting as much
as you
as-
can. Yeah,
as much
especially at
as
his
you
age.
can while
I
you
wouldn't
can.
settle for
He's
that
not-
if I was
he's not
Deontay.
good. And that's why I disagree with Greg. Like this year, there are no more prove it deals. Like this year is his prove it year for the Panthers.
Right.
I
He's
don't think
proved it.
it's gonna. But I don't think there's another year where he's gonna get more money than what he would demand at the end of this season.
I don't know. Let's
I
see how he
just- I-
finishes.
I agree with a couple of things. So number one, I disagree that this year was his prove it year. If anything, last year was his prove it year. And he performed pretty well. And he still didn't get a great contract. I don't think that Deontay Foreman is going to be taking a big contract no matter where he goes. He's been able to come here and do things that were great. But again, he might be a great rusher, but he isn't an all-around great running back. from what we've seen so far. And he's getting older. And so I tend to side with Cody on this front. I think that Deontay Foreman, I think you got to, you have to move on from him, especially since you have still got a couple of years with Chuba Hubbard. That's not me signing that Chuba Hubbard's the guy moving forward, but that's just me stating that Chuba Hubbard offers a lot more as far as flexibility moving forward and, in my opinion, potential upside.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. And then, so just real quick to the injury report. This is something that's concerning that I wanted to mention. Most people were limited in practice, but Taylor Moton did not practice, and he seems to be day to day. And I think this is going to drastically change the outcome of this game. And even when we think about this game, if Taylor Moton isn't able to be out there, because even though I've been hard on him, look at this Detroit Lions defensive line and what they've been able to do recently. They have some damn good players on that defensive front, including rookie Aiden Hutchinson, who is probably in running to be the defensive rookie of the year this year. Him and Sauce Gardner, corner for the Jets. So, Taylor Moton was limited. Keep in mind that if Taylor Moton doesn't go, you're talking about Camping being on the line, having to go against Hutch and a few of their guys. That's a bit concerning to me. J.C. Horn said he had some shoulder stiffness, not too much that he's worried about. And then C.J. Henderson was full practice. Any thoughts on this injury report?
Yeah, when it comes to Taylor Moton, maybe this will be for some of you, from some of the people on Twitter, and maybe even Cody Lashney, a blessing in disguise. You throw your boy Christensen to right tackle like everybody's been asking for. You put Cade Mays in there, and the offensive line doesn't regress as much.
Yeah,
as
you put Michael Jordan at left guard.
There you go. That's what they all love.
Hey, you're a member of the 4-man rush or something?
But still, like, there's a shakeup that some people believe, and you would actually get to do a little experimental testing with it against like a line that you said is or a defense that's kind of finding their way a little bit in Detroit. James Houston, the fourth, is a rookie linebacker for the Detroit Lions, is the first rookie that could potentially have 5 sacks in his first 5 games. And he's on a 4-game sack streak right now. So the offensive line needs to bounce back after a bad performance against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They've got a formidable defense that they're going to have to do it against. And now you're doing the one thing that this line has not had to do all season, and that is face a potential shakeup of positions. One of the things the Carolina Panthers offensive line has been consistent across the board, except for one single change where Bradley Bozeman stepped in for an injured Pat Elflin, and it hasn't looked back at that starting position. Right. But this offensive line has had some continuity, and that usually is a good recipe for success for offensive lines. So now we're trying to figure out if mix-up could be a positive for this team and a line trying to find its way, and that is scary in one hand, and that's why a lot of coaches don't like to do that kind of crap.
Yeah. It's terrifying. I think Christensen has tackle capability. So like we said before, I wouldn't mind seeing Cade Mays at left guard and Brady Christensen out at right tackle. I think that kind of physical skill set from a big man is very hard to find. And if you have that in Cade Mays, in Brady Christensen, and you're not using it, in my mind, you're kind of wasting it. So I would like to see that potentially happen. And then shout out to your bastard son, White Chocolate Espresso. It was him that had the idea a while back. Maybe at some point, see what you can get in a trade for Taylor Moton and move Christensen to right tackle and maybe upgrade Cade Mays. I don't know. That was just an idea, but to me, it seemed okay.
I'm concerned that the Taylor Moton film this season is going to drastically reduce his value in the eyes
agree.
of potential suitors. I would like that to be the case, and I'm hoping that this is just a scenario that Taylor Moton looks way worse just because the pieces around him are so much better. But it's just hard to ignore what we've seen all year, and what feels like a step backwards in his progression as a football player, as a right tackle in general. This week was rough for the entire offensive line. Brady Christensen was getting blown up. Icky was getting blown up. It was a failure across the board on that offensive line and many of those sacks. But I still think if you have a weak link, it's got to be Taylor Moton. But that just says it's a rest day, so I don't think that's something that we have to worry about.
Yeah, I actually was just thinking about that. I was like, I just looked at what the actual injury was, and there's no injury. He just is getting it looks like a vet rest day.
But what does that tell you? Almost like, hey, we need to take a break a little bit. You know?
CMC was getting it all the time.
Yeah,
Jack Thompson gets it all the time. It's status quo for veteran.
I agree.
Players.
Is that I want to see Taylor Moton do well. Is what I want to see. Is I don't think his last 2 years haven't been fantastic.
Well, and CK raised a good point there. Is we don't know if maybe the better offensive line around him has made him look bad, but on that mindset, can we go back and look? Can we go back and look and say that maybe a bad offensive line around him
made him look better,
made him look really good?
They
attacked our weak points, and he looked really good because he never had to stop.
That's been our defense for him all the time too. Is that he's been the best player on a bad line,
right? That's one of the things. That's almost some of the arguments that we had when he was looking bad. Even is it's really hard to look good as an offensive lineman when nobody else is good around you either, because it's almost like a weak link, right? You start having people missing assignments. All of a sudden, now you're getting bull rushed by two people trying to pick up somebody else's assignment. Like, I think that there is a real truth to that. So I think Taylor Moton got away with a lot of bad play earlier than we realized because he was on a bad team or a bad offensive line. But it's hard to say. It's hard to say because he got paid well and he had great technique. And I think that's the part that is tough to I guess not focus on. Is he did play well at one point. It just seems to have gone off of a cliff for some reason.
Yeah. One thing that excites me about this season, we were talking about how is it that this late in the season we continue to find this like renewed excitement or some reason to care, whether it be us chasing this division. One of the things that I've like watching is that we're kind of in a moment where the games still matter, but we still are kind of looking at player development along the way for the future.
Right.
And so when it comes to like seeing Cade Mays out there playing a game, even if it's like in the less than ideal situation, whether it be us putting a Keith Taylor in to get chewed up, we actually getting to see some of the coach. I would hope Fitter's getting to see some of the things that he's going to be building and working with towards the future. So I wouldn't mind seeing some of these young players because I'm trying to reserve my expectations about actually winning the division after last week. It's just like, well, we're going to have to beat the Lions now.
Right.
You don't beat the Lions, you ain't winning the division. That's just it. That's just it. So one game at a time. And speaking of those Lions, they've been a tough team, man. And just a month ago, they were in top contention for one of the top picks in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
You can legit say that right now the Detroit Lions are one of the better teams in football. They beat the Minnesota Vikings. A lot of people seem to think that should they play again, that they would beat Minnesota again. And they are still in line for the playoffs. They're one of those teams that's also right on the cusp. But no team has played a harder strength of schedule this season than the Lions at 0.590 opponent win percentage, making their 7-7 record all the more impressive. And I have to give it to you guys, man. I used to be down on Dan Campbell and everybody else swore by this man. And now it really does seem as though he has turned it around, and he has that Detroit Lions team really believing in themselves right now and really fighting. Tony, you made the point that most of their team is made up of former NFL players.
The coaching staff,
Their coaching staff is made up of NFL players, and it's one of those things where we have a very tough opponent coming into town. In fact, even before we played Seattle, a lot of people believed that this would be our toughest test. Shout out to Michael Huck in the chat room, a Lions fan, enjoying the show. Appreciate you, brother. Hope you're enjoying the C3 Panthers podcast. And speaking of this game against the Detroit Lions is set to be perhaps the coldest game in the history of Bank of America Stadium, the coldest home game that the Panthers have ever played at home. They were saying that the wind chill, it's possible to be 7 degrees by the time we get to game time at 1 o'clock.
7 or 17?
17.
17. This is wild to me that this is the coldest game in that this could be the coldest game in Bank of America history.
Right.
Is that, man, 32 degrees with a wind chill of 17? I'm not saying I want to be in the stands for that game necessarily and during that type of cold, but you look at the one that was in Green Bay in 97, it was 3 degrees was a regular temperature. Man, you're like, that's not terrible, but it is the coldest. What can we mention this? That the Lions started off 1-5, guys.
Right.
Yeah.
1-5. The same situation that Who was in. Then didn't we start off 1-5? Pretty sure.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
So then, since they won the important win, their first or second win came after they have had a tough schedule. Think about this: is they played the Seahawks when they were peaking. Then they had to go to New England. Then they went to Dallas, had to host a hot Dolphins team, 31-27 loss. Gritty win on the at home against the Aaron Rodgers with the Packers. And then here they go on their run. They beat the Packers, then they beat the Bears. They get a little momentum in their division, catch the flailing Giants, lose to the Bills, blow out the Jags, and get an important win. They're on these guys have been winning. Important win at home over the Vikings. So this is kind of the season. 1-5. We thought we were left for dead at this point. This is kind of the back end we were hoping for, strangely, with Wilkes. Not that, but they've got, this is what Campbell's second year. Little question marks popping up at the beginning of the season, man. Is this thing going to work? And boy, they're rocking and rolling. They are chomping at those kneecaps. Like he said, this is the type of team he wanted to build. This is like, he's kind of like Ron Rivera with an offense.
Sure.
Like he's a tough guy, but their team just scores points.
I like that. That's a great comparison.
And speaking of that offense, do you all think differently of Jared Goff now? I mean, I remember, even last year they had the number 2 pick draft. Most people were like, oh, the Los Angeles Rams and Sean McVay, they wanted to get rid of Jared Goff because he wasn't good on certain kinds of throws that they wanted to capitalize on. And, a few weeks ago,
Mahomes.
Yeah, but even a few weeks ago, a lot of people were thinking when the Lions were picking top 10 or whatever, that, the Detroit Lions are going to take a quarterback. But this Lions offense is one of the best offenses in the NFL. When we've been talking about potential head coach candidates to do not retain Steve Wilkes, the Lions offensive coordinator is one of the names that comes up. So they are a very dynamic football team that has proven themselves capable of putting up a lot of points. So has this changed your way of what you think about Jared Goff and what you think the Panthers need to do to win this game.
Who was the Lions fan in the chat?
Michael Hawk.
If you want to call in, I got one question for a Lions fan. Maybe just answer it in the chat.
Coming from Virginia. Yeah.
252-228-5098. You can leave a message or just write in the chat. I want to know what the relationship with Deuce Staley and the offensive coordinator is, and what not like their personal relationship. What's the hierarchy? Dan Campbell, because it's listed on the website. I thought that Deuce Staley was kind of in charge of the offense at one point. That's what I thought. But when I looked at the website, it goes Dan Campbell, assistant head coach Deuce Staley, with a separate obligation of running backs coach. And then it has the Ben Johnson guy listed as offensive coordinator. I just want to know how much is Deuce Staley ultimately involved in that offense, because if he is part of that success, I think that makes Deuce Staley an even more attractive candidate going forward. Maybe I'm misreading that, but these guys, their offense has been clicking, and Jared Goff has played well. Cody, I think that the Lions have gotten exactly what the promise of Jared Goff was for anybody at any moment, for the when it was with the Rams and with us now, is a guy that's, to me, reminds me a lot of Alex Smith.
Yeah.
A guy that can do the job, but if you need him to every game throw 4 touchdowns with no defense and nothing else, then you're probably not going to get it. But
Jared Goff always reminded me of a Matt Ryan type of player. Similar skill sets in what they do. They're not
less of a douche.
Well,
the one that doesn't shit his pants on the field.
Yeah.
And Matt Ryan,
the one that isn't part of 2 of the literal worst come from behind losses in NFL history.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think it's an insult personally to call someone Matt Ryan. It's just like a uber dork.
Matty Ice, baby.
Yeah. But Michael Hart says Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson are working together as a first-year coordinator, has been given full control yet. Maybe he may haven't or hasn't. I'm not entirely sure.
But, I want to know what Deuce Staley, because I like Deuce Staley as a potential. I want to see him have success in the league going forward. Maybe be considered for some head coaching jobs. Jared Goff's girlfriend too.
Oh, she's beautiful.
Chef's kiss.
She's beautiful.
Chef's kiss. She is, and it is like a beauty too to it. Wild. I'm gonna say this is I think that just settled it for me, man. I was like, man, Jared Goff, cool.
Cool with me.
Yeah.
Cool with me.
Well, can I ask we did bring up the point, is this is a must-win game for us?
Oh yeah,
we have to win this game specifically.
Absolutely.
I almost feel like our whole season comes down to this game right here.
Yes. If we don't win this game, we fall too far behind.
Yeah,
we don't have enough games to make up ground. We're not. Yeah, it's just like you hope you lose out at that point, I would think.
Yeah, and by the way, this is one of the things I wanted to talk about. We have to let loose Sam Darnold. And I didn't think I didn't think I would say that, but no, we really do need to let loose Sam Darnold. Listen, passing the football for the Panthers was not the issue against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm sorry, it just wasn't. And I know in years past, because of Sam being prone to turn over the football, we've been hesitant to put the ball in his hand and let him chuck it all over the field. Gentlemen, I really feel we don't have a choice. This Lions offense is dynamic enough that they're going to put points on the board. And unless we are willing to let Sam uncork that right arm and make some more of those big-time throws that he was making last Sunday, I feel like we're going to be playing from behind consistently. I genuinely feel the path to success is to throw the football, fear the beard, let Sam Darnold be confident. He's grown better and better every time we see him. I believe it's time to put the ball in Sam Darnold's hands. And this might be the biggest game or as Sam Darnold being able to prove that he is a consistent quarterback to be depended upon going forward in his career.
We're going to do a little back and forth on the screen share. So keep that Dan Campbell quote up, because the recipe for defeating the Panthers is stopping the run. And this week, the Panthers are going to be hosting the Detroit Lions, who have the offense that puts up points, that has not had problems moving the ball. And it's unrealistic to think that as the defense for the Detroit Lions look at the template, the archetype, or whatever you call it, the formula for beating the Carolina Panthers, that they're not going to just say this. This is up to Sam Darnold. Beat us. Sam Darnold, beat us. And it's going to be a dare, and the Carolina Panthers are going to have to accept that. This is our time to let you know the prize that the C3 Panthers podcast is sponsored by PrizePicks. You can use the promo code C3, and the first time sign up the bonus of a 100% up to $100. So if you're a first time sign up, you can put in $100. They will match you $100 with promo funds that you get to play with. And I got to tell you, I love PrizePicks so much. Guys, I'm on a run. I'm on a heater, baby. I am on a heater. I'll tell you that is, look at this. PrizePicks is the best way for you to play daily fantasy football sports, right? And you can use real money in over 30 states in the United States, North and South Carolina legal states, to play daily fantasy football sports. You can play with money, and the way this works, and you get paid safely. Use the promo code C3. They're going to match your first-time deposit bonus, and you make a couple of picks. You have to make a minimum of 2 picks from 2 different teams, and the more picks that you make, more prize picks you make against these fantasy football projections, the more the payout is. It can be up to 5 or 10 times your money. Guys, this week, in 2 days, I have fun, man. I've been more playing the flex picks a little bit more to ensure, because there's so many times I just would have been positive money if I just clicked the flex. I know I gave Cody Lashley a hard time. Look, $10 on the NBA this past week. There's a win from I guess that would have been last night. They have the 12 Picksmas of Christmas, so I've been doing those things too. I did a couple of, that was a $5 loss last night, but here is the thing. This was last night, guys, in the NBA. I mean, in the NFL, their promotion was, if you do a 2-pick power pick of guys wearing the Christmas hat, instead of getting 3 times your money, you got 4 times your money. Nice. So I got $10 on Cam Akers, more than 52 rushing yards. And $10. And I hit Aaron Jones. So that actually paid 40 out, that 10. Then I hit the Aaron Rodgers, less than 2.5 rushing yards, and more than 55 on Cam Akers. Played Cam Akers twice. That was another 40 right there. This was an NBA pick gone wrong. But if you guys go back at this, win on the flex, power play, win, power play, win, bro. I've been rocking and rolling on the prize picks, dude. I've been having fun. I don't want to look at the injuries now because I think I just jinxed myself on the heater that I'm on. But you know what I'm ready to do at this moment? Call on Sam Darnold. The call.
Oh, shit.
I'm calling on him for the Panthers to contend in this game. He's going to have to put up more than 210 passing yards. I firmly believe that this game is just not going to be won by 170 rushing yards and holding Denver to 10.
Yeah.
It's not wrong.
There. You believe he needs to do that, but do you believe he can do that? That's what you need to ask yourself when you're betting. Can he do that? Not if he.
I do think he can do it. It's the question is, can the Panthers do it though?
That's part of the question. Yeah, like you're betting. So do you think it can happen?
the Detroit Lions, they may be prolific on offense, but even Michael
Horrible.
Hawk, a Detroit Lion fan in here, saying that they are not good on defense. D's ill skill says Lions D ranked 31st, but not a clear depiction of their current play. So they're not a very high defense right now.
That's why they haven't won as many games. They were the number
Right.
one offense in the league through the first 5 games, and they also lost 4 out of 5 of those games.
Yeah. I mean, no, so I really do think we have to air out the football. This is going to be a game for DJ Moore, and you know what? I'm going to call it too, Terrace Marshall Jr. I feel like this season, Terrace Marshall Jr. has only gotten better and better. He's made big time plays. He's fast down the field. I really do think TMJ and Sam Darnold have a real opportunity to continue to build their connection this Sunday.
Greg, do me a favor and look up DeAndre Swift's carries the last couple of weeks. I want to see this. I know that they use a stable of backs, but PrizePicks right now has DeAndre Swift 38.5 rushing yards. We have not been a good stop the run defense overall. You know, it's not, we haven't been insanely bad at times, but I mean, I'm thinking if a back gets 10 carries against us, I know he gets a lot of balls out of the backfield. I feel comfortable taking them more than, as long as he's getting touches actual as a running back. If it's just receptions, what his history is, if we pull up, this is cool feature by PrizePicks, you can go and look at this, is that last week he had 52, 21 against Minnesota, 62 against Jacksonville. It's just who else is running the ball with him is the real question.
Well, Tony, you asked, he's only had 2 games this year above 10 attempts.
Carries?
Carries. Yeah, he's only had 4 games above 6.
What has he done in the last 3
games? He has 8 for 52, 6 for 21, and 14 for 62, all with 1 touchdown out of all 3 games. So he's not doing great in the last few weeks.
Oh, I don't know. 38.5 though.
38.5. He's hit that twice in the last 2 weeks.
How do you guys feel about that? Or does that sound scarier now that he ran it off like that?
We don't have a good run defense. We don't have a good run defense.
I don't feel great about that. Let's peek around and see if we see anything else.
That Trevor Lawrence 229. I'm not gonna lie, man.
Oh, I already took the Taco Tuesday. The Taco Tuesday. This you got him for like. Here I can. I'll flip over to it. He was on a discount. I already put like 3 in with or 2 in with Trevor over there. Let's see if anything jumps off the page to us. I wouldn't doubt Gino putting up more than 255.
Who is Trevor playing?
The Jets, though. It's a tough matchup.
Dude,
tough matchup.
I'm telling you, these past few weeks, there has not been a better quarterback in the league than Trevor Lawrence, dude.
It's hard to debate that. It really is.
I don't
want to argue that, but it's hard to debate that. Yeah. Zay Jones at 52 yards is pretty good.
Man, but they have a good secondary. The Jets, bro. The Jets. Sauce Gardner hasn't even allowed a catch for some.
Sauce Gardner can't be on everybody. Receivers. Yeah, he can't cover.
So
their defense has been good though.
We also have another Lions fan in the chat. He says front 7 is stout. It's the secondary that sucks, and that's kind of what we've heard. And line all of their backs interchangeably. Swift, Justin Jackson, and Jamal Williams.
What's the weather? Does Joe Burrow have to go to New England?
I don't know.
It should say right there, doesn't it?
Tony, look at this St. Brown, 76.5 receiving yards. I think that he's going to get more than that. I think that's a safe bet for receiving.
Against us?
Against us.
Oh, I don't like it. I don't like going against. I guess our secondary.
I don't like going against us either, but yeah. I mean,
CJ got called out. I don't know. I like this Purdy.
It's going to make him play any better.
I know. I like this less than.
For Brock Purdy?
Yeah.
Against Washington?
who's
Yeah.
Houston playing?
I like
Yeah.
this.
Whoever Houston is playing, that's a good indication that they're gonna get some yards.
I want to know what
Houston's not very
let's see.
good.
We'll pop over a couple others. Etienne 60.5 against the Jets. That's kind of tough. I don't know if I love that.
Ayuk at 48.5. That's pretty good.
Oh, is Kenneth Walker healthy? Oof, that's not good.
No.
It's been a while.
That's a
for him.
trap right there.
Against Kansas City.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Honestly, man, that Swift pick is looking kind of the best. I'd take the over on that 38.5. We
I
don't
know, he
have a
doesn't
good
give me
run
lot of
defense,
carries.
man.
Look at how many carries oh gosh, I wish I could. Sorry, I'm placing. All right, anyway, I don't know. I'm gonna place one of these. Got a bunch. Use the promo code C3. Promo code C3. You get a first time deposit bonus. I'm gonna hit this Walker. I'll hold this. We're gonna come back to that. If Greg, you can find how many carries he's had in the last couple of weeks, that'll help me make my decision. I'm leaning towards less there. Look, $20 brings you back 100 there, or you could flex this where you then get potentially you can get either 2.25 times your money if you hit all three, or you get your money back plus some if you hit 2 out of 3. So go like this is probably the one I probably want to put a flex in, to be honest, because I don't love the Kenneth Walker one. Might surprise you. The Darnold one has some risk to it, and the Brock Purdy, you never know with that team what the hell is going to happen. In fact,
Tony, for the Kenneth Walker, he's had 10, 14, 3, and 12 attempts in the last 4 games, and he hasn't broken 47 yards in any of them.
Feel good about that. All right, I'm going to hit the flex just to keep my money safe at this point. Make sure you use PrizePicks and use the promo code C3. I will show you my entries right now to see what we're doing right at the moment. I've been doing less than rebounds lately, Greg.
Mm-hmm. Rebounds are tough to judge with a point guard.
So, but I got John Moran, this under 6 and less than 6.5. Look on 9-10 game. Oof, this one right here. We're getting risky here. Yeah. See if I got any other that are playing right now. Nope, that's it. All right. What's next up in our topics for tonight?
Yeah, just to add that one of the things that we're not doing very well was the defense was horrendous on third downs last Sunday, and this Lions offense is 11th in third down conversion. Carolina defense in 26th. Wilk says Detroit quarterback Jared Goff controls everything. And this kind of goes back to the point that we were making. You live and die by your quarterback. And right now, Jared Goff is playing some of the best football that he's ever played. You know, this is not the stat teams of the Los Angeles Rams that he used to have in years past. I feel like he's done a lot to, make up for his name being slandered the past few years. And he's going to be a very dangerous quarterback for the Panthers to face going forward. So this is going to take our best defensive performances from top to bottom. And Tony, you added this, since we're talking about quarterbacks. If you look at the lay of the land right now, the current quarterbacks in the NFC are Jalen Hurts, who was a second-round pick. Kirk Cousins was a fourth-round pick. Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick in the draft. Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick. Dak Prescott was a 4th-round pick. Daniel Jones, the only kind of outlier here, the number 6th overall pick. And Taylor Heineke was an undrafted player. So it kind of lends to this argument that you don't necessarily have to have a highly drafted quarterback in order to be a successful football team. However, to play devil's advocate to the slide that you posted, if you look at the AFC right now, you have Josh Allen, a top 10 pick, Mahomes, a top 10 pick. Burrow, a top 10 pick. Tannehill was a first-round pick. Justin Herbert, a top 10 pick. And Tua Tagovailoa, a top 10 pick. Oh, and by the way, say the Jaguars win the division, then that quarterback was also the number 1 overall pick. So that you can find the argument that you're looking to make about your quarterback depending on what division you look in. Do you need a first rounder, or can you go with the talent that you found and cultivated later on in the draft?
Why is Daniel Jones on this list?
Because he's a playoff team right now.
Yeah, this is all the playoffs. All the
currently the
quarterbacks.
playoffs. Okay, because I was thinking it was like, all right. Gosh, I wonder how far are the Lions behind? Because Goff is the
Not-
top pick.
They're in the
They're
same position we are, I
7-7.
think, as far as being out. Yeah. Can I
They're
say
wild
though
card.
that when you make that comparison, the one thing I noticed right off the top, just looking at it, you look at all these NFC teams that have these quarterbacks that are not first round picks. You look at all the AFC teams that have the quarterbacks that are. Look at the AFC teams; they're offensive led teams, high powered
Yeah.
offenses. And I'm not saying there's not high powered offenses in the NFC, but look at all these NFC teams.
There aren't.
The
I mean,
the Eagles,
Cousins and
the
Lions
the
and
Eagles, the
Eagles.
Niners, the Bucks. Who else was on there? Washington. Those are all defensive teams. Like they're teams led by their defense that helps them win the games they're at. Look, I'm going to make an argument later for Jalen Hurts. Y'all can talk all you want to about Jalen Hurts being the offensive guy and the MVP. He is not the MVP of the league this year. His defense. He's a system quarterback. He's a system quarterback. That's all there is to it. I'll say it right now. So, but look at all these teams. These are all defensive teams in the NFC. They're all offensive teams in the NFC. So
I'm not like they might be in the playoffs, but I don't love any of these names except for Jalen Hurts. And maybe Dak's all right. I mean, Tom Brady, okay. Like he's always going to be the outlier that screws up every list when it comes to anything. It's like it's like actually how Kurt Warner does. Kurt Warner is the walk-on Hall of well, he was drafted, but he wasn't. No, it wasn't. He was undrafted. He's an undrafted player, right? Yeah, that's like his whole story. I watched this movie, and he's like a 5-time Super Bowl winner or whatever, Hall of Famer. They're always going to skew the list. You know what I'm saying? So overall, this is like I wouldn't be happy with my team if any of these are the names of them, except for maybe Hurts, Prescott, and Cousins,
dude.
Yeah. I mean, like I'd be fine with Cousins, but who you got. Like this is the best Cousins you're gonna get, which is fine. But you better have a team now that's gonna win with him. Did you see Justin Fields, by the way? Speaking of Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields talking about how he's like begging for calls. Oh, this is kind of an interesting thing. We'll talk about this moment later in the NFL news, but Jalen Hurts suffering with a shoulder injury right now, or battling a shoulder injury. Fields talking about the reluctancy to get these calls, like he has to beg. He said, "I'm gonna have to start begging for him." Talking about how Aaron Donald, I didn't see this play they was talking about, but it sounded like it was clearly something he believed should have been flagged and protected from. It's like the Cam Newton tree of life or death that hey, maybe the ref said you're not old enough to get that call to Justin Fields. Jalen Hurts was injured in this game against Chicago, almost like they had to show that we have a great mobile quarterback too. Oh, you got a great mobile quarterback, Chicago, or a very mobile quarterback. So do we. They're like winning that game, and Jalen Hurts gets more carries than Miles Sanders. Is like, gosh, you also have to.
One of the dumbest things was the amount of times that they ran Jalen Hurts on design runs. You have an MVP. You have an MVP candidate, and you're gonna do design runs with your franchise quarterback. That is the dumbest shit in the world. Philadelphia is asking for trouble. Now all the rumors are that he probably won't start versus the Philadelphia So Tony
Right,
might
Cowboys,
have a
yeah.
chance. Against the Cowboys. So Tony might have a chance to witness some Minshew magic a little bit this week, you know. So Tony will love that. But I don't know. That was very dumb to me. Very dumb. I don't know why they would do that. I just felt that entire thing was stupid. But about Justin
Sure.
Fields, yeah, history has a weird way of repeating itself, huh?
Well,
You
yeah, I
know,
mean, Justin Fields and Hurts right there are the same kind of type of player, I think, that you would describe as the tree of Cam Newton. Greg, you mentioned you don't think that Jalen Hurts is MVP.
No.
And boy, bold words, man. Why not?
And let me go back and say, he's having a fantastic season, and he's a great quarterback. I'm not trying to take any of that away from him. Okay. But as far as the stats go, he is only, and as far as quarterback stats go, that's the top 8 quarterback stats: yards, completions, average yards per game, touchdowns, sacks, quarterback rating, and QBR and overall rating. He only is in the top 3 in one category. In the top 3 in one category, we're saying he's the best in the NFL. Okay. As far as rushing goes, he is the top leading rusher as far as quarterbacks go in the NFL, but he has 3 times the amount of rushes as most quarterbacks do. And he's 14th, I think, in average. So it's not like he's a great rusher. Volume speaks for him than that. He has a ton of rushes.
Right.
So, of course, he's going to rush for a lot of yards. He is not the MVP this year. Patrick Mahomes in the same stats, in the same 8 quarterback stats, is number 1 in 4 of those. He's top 5 in every one of them except for completion percentage, which he is 0.01 away from being the number 5 in completion percentage. Patrick Mahomes is the MVP. Jalen Hurts is not. We are going by record here, which is what I can't stand about this vote, because it's only by record. Jalen Hurts is not playing a better year than Patrick Mahomes is. I'm sorry. He's just not. Patrick Mahomes has total of 4,809 yards so far this season, 38 touchdowns. Jalen Hurts has 4,219 yards, 35 touchdowns. That's including rushing and passing. So not only does Mahomes have more yards and touchdowns, he's better in almost every single stat there is as far as quarterback goes, except for amount of yards rushing and touchdowns rushing, because there's less volume. Like, Hurts is not the MVP. And I wanted to say earlier, I said he's a system quarterback. Every quarterback is a system quarterback. You build the system around that quarterback. So I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to talk trash about Hurts, but he's not the number 1 guy this year. Like, anybody who's believing that, you're just believing the media hype. You're not looking at the actual numbers.
Right now, for me, it's between Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen for MVP, and I probably would have Patrick Mahomes at the
Tua
top
should
of
be
that.
in that conversation. Tua should.
No. I think the same thing that Greg said
Allen's
about
blown some games. Allen's blown some games from them.
Yeah,
so
but
if you
so
want to
is
call
Tua.
out Tua, not
So is
yeah.
Tua.
So, and you know what is that really? But you're not. I guess maybe
But
this
Allen won that
3-game
division.
losing streak is really hurting his campaign.
It really is. And by the way, they lost to the Chargers, and a lot of the reason
He had a
why
bad
they
game. That was
lost-
his bad game of the year.
Yeah, he had some bad. And by the way, this is the time of the season where you need to be playing your best football in
Allen
order
has-
to be considered an MVP candidate.
Allen's had some questionable moments, dude. He has
Yeah,
not
but he's
been
playing
dialed
better
in like
now.
Mahomes. No, even as
Yeah,
of
I mean,
late, he hasn't
Mahomes
been
is it, man.
fantastic.
I'm telling
I
you,
would-
man.
I think
I would
Mahomes
have
is
Mahomes-
ahead of Allen. Easy.
Yeah,
I would agree.
Mahomes is
I
it.
would have Mahomes ahead of Allen. But dude, did y'all see what Josh Allen did? I think it was this last Saturday. Dude, Josh Allen is so freaking good, man. Like, dude, you can make the argument that dude is the best player in football. Like, he's that fucking good, dude.
You can make the argument, yeah,
Gross.
but
It's gross. But
yeah.
I believe that's all for that we have. Did you
Sub them up and cover me while you guys take care of this next bit and introduce the next segment.
Oh shit, you know what that means. We have reached the time of the show where all of these dirty little devils in the chat come to get what they've been good little boys and girls for. That's right. They want to take a break from us talking about the Panthers, and they're trying to get their shame on, damn it. Codizzle. Talk to this bunch of weirdos, dude.
Well, hello there. Welcome into the C3 Panthers Podcast. If you're new here, if you're a Lions fan, I just want to be the first to say, welcome to the show. Enjoy the content, enjoy the squirming as we go head-to-head with one of the hottest teams in the NFL, the Detroit Lions. We're discussing a lot of different things about this team, the future, the past, and the present. You've come in here to enjoy this conversation, but you haven't hit that thumbs up button yet. Well, I have one thing to say to all you absolute freaks. Subscriber shame.
$115 strong viewers,
Yeah.
43 likes. Hit that thumbs up, hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell. Every single C3 Panthers podcast goes live. Help us be seen by as many football fans as possible. Help us grow Panther Nation. And yeah, man, help us whip up on that YouTube algorithm and do like what the Panthers should be doing out there on the football field. Gentlemen, Tony said he'll be right back, but I'm going to go ahead and set up this next segment. What we're going to do is rank all the real contenders versus the pretenders in the NFL. That's right. The C3 Panthers podcast is going to tell you what teams are for real and what teams need to go. And we're going to do it today. That's right. We're going to go through our list of teams that we believe are actually Super Bowl contenders. Teams that are maybe just in it for the playoffs that could sneak in and make a run. Teams that maybe at most are a wild card. And who's the pretenders and who's trash. We're going to go one at a time. And what you boys want to do first? You want to start at Super Bowl contender and just call out a Super Bowl contender until one of us disagrees with one another?
Yeah, I think we should go around like a draft. Pick 1 through 4 for everybody. Everybody get a pick, and then we'll start with we'll just pick whatever team you want. Pick whatever team you want. Put them wherever you want to.
Tell us who's the first pick of who's the top team in the NFL right now. It's down to Kansas City.
Who wants to go first? Let's one of us to go first.
Nope.
All right, Tony, you're up first.
Tony, Cody, CK, me.
Pick a Super Bowl contender.
I mean, I think Kansas City is the number 1 team right now.
Nope.
I'm not going to argue that.
All right, CK.
You got to go Bills. The Bills have beat the Kansas City Chiefs already this season.
Okay. Super Bowl contenders. I'm going to put Cincinnati up there. Does anybody? I think they're a Super Bowl contender. Yeah.
Cannot argue with that.
AFC. Those are all AFC teams. Somebody's got to come out of the.
You got to put that up. Yeah.
I'll break that trend. I will say Philadelphia Eagles are a Super Bowl contender.
I will even say Dallas.
And I'd even put San Fran up there.
San Fran is probably above Dallas.
Oh, but Dallas just lost, right?
Didn't
they?
Yeah, Dallas just lost.
Yeah. I think San Fran's the last team you could put up there as far
Who
as
you
right
picking,
now.
Tony,
Super
Dallas?
Bowl contender. Oh, sorry, Tony's turn.
San Francisco. Yeah, I'm gonna pick Dallas right here. Do you guys disagree?
Right.
You
Yeah,
disagree?
San Fran goes.
For me, I'm not a big believer in Dallas.
Put them in the playoffs then, because they have to be a wild card anyway.
Yeah,
agree.
So you almost have to be able to win your division, I think, to really
but
consider.
I do think it's possible for them to win a playoff game. So,
I agree.
Yeah.
I think they're tough. Now. Who's next? Greg? Was it Greg?
So
and I hear
CK,
myself in the background.
You got to go Miami here.
Oh, for Super Bowl or for playoff?
Playoffs.
I don't know. They have such a built team. Yeah, let's just say playoffs.
3-game losing streak.
I'm going to go San Fran, Super Bowl contender.
Yes.
Oh,
I think they're the last team.
I don't think so.
Really? I think they're clicking on all cylinders. They're unbeatable.
The reason that I don't disagree with them is Shanahan has proven that he can win with multiple different quarterbacks, And that Niners defense, probably the best defense in the NFL.
And they have a powerhouse on offense too. Besides quarterback, like look at the receivers and the running back and their tight end. They are stacked.
Yep.
Cody,
Yeah, I don't think they got the quarterback to really just deserve to be in that category yet. But okay.
I just don't.
Can
see
we
that
go ahead and
anybody-
get the trash out of the way? How about that? Can we just go ahead and put
No. It's my
going
turn,
top to
baby.
bottom?
It's my
Oh.
turn, baby. You're not interrupting me, because my Jaguars are a playoff contender. Right now, they're number 2 in the AFC South. But, dude, let me tell you, if this Jacksonville team continues to go on a roll, dude, that's a team you might not want to see in the playoffs, man. I think they can win the playoff.
Yeah.
I want to
back
just
you up
go
on that.
ahead and knock some. Is it my pick?
Yeah, it's your pick.
Yes, it is.
Okay, I'll take my pick to knock some just the trash category. The Broncos, the Texans, and
You want to put more
God,
than
You're
one in
taking
there?
multiple picks.
yeah,
huh?
I mean, well, I mean, like, come on, is anybody going to argue that? And
No.
the
No,
Cardinals.
No, you're right.
I put the Cardinals too, and I'd almost put like.
The Colts, maybe.
I guess we're going to be in the pretender category because
Mm,
we could win the division. But
mm.
okay, that's my pick. Is just getting some of that out of the way.
All right. So
Okay.
we need another playoff contender. Are there? How about this? Are there no more Super Bowl contenders on this list?
Not at all.
I don't think so.
Not at all. I think
Yeah.
I think that we have maybe San Francisco put a little too high right now. But okay. I mean,
It's 3 on
now
one,
it's
though.
wild card, right? Or playoff
no,
Well,
contenders.
it's anywhere, right?
Eh,
Here.
all right.
Yeah,
Hear me
your
out.
pick,
Hear me
your
out.
pick.
PK's pick.
Here-
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
all
going
right, go
to
ahead,
say
Sam.
playoff contender, Minnesota Vikings.
Mm.
that's right. That's
Okay.
right.
I'm gonna. You know what? I don't care. I'm gonna do it. Wild card Carolina Panthers. I think
But
that
they can't actually win
they
the
can't
wild
make a wild
card.
card.
I don't
You're
think
Is
right,
it a
that means wild card in
metaphorical
that
wild
regard.
card? Is it
Yeah.
a metaphorical wild
Metaphorical
card?
Well-
Metaphorical
wild
wild
card,
card. Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
As far as they can make the playoffs and possibly win a game.
All right.
Wow.
But if anybody argues that, like I said, this is for this.
I
for.
think, yeah, I think we're pretenders.
I'm fighting it so hard because,
Put us in the wild
even-
card. Nah, put us in the wild card till we lose. If we lose this week, we're pretenders.
There
If
you
we
go.
lose this
man.
week, we might be in the trash category, to be honest.
Could be.
All right. Whose turn is it?
Yours.
Greg? Oh no, it's my turn, right?
Yep.
I'm gonna say the Chargers are a playoff contender.
What? But they got to get the wild card, right?
But still, you can be a contender in the wild card. Or
No, I'm
They-
just saying, like, that's how they're gonna have to get in.
Right.
this-
But how
Okay.
I judge this, if you're in the playoff contender, you're not necessarily equipped to win the Super Bowl, but you can go and win a playoff game.
All right.
That's how I
Who's
look
next?
at that.
And
Who's
the wild
next,
card
Terry?
just makes the playoffs. No,
Me?
Tony, you're next. Yeah.
Tony,
Shoot. I'm gonna say, pretender. I'm gonna put the Giants.
Mm,
They're
good
pretenders.
call. Good call.
all right,
CK?
And they beat us, by the way.
This is hard now.
Pretenders are the Bucks.
Ooh,
Ooh.
okay.
It's a
I
good
would
one.
argue they might be trash, but they are beating us in the division right now.
Dude,
so I
you
can't-
can argue that
I'm
the
gonna keep this
entire
one right.
NFC South is trash.
Right, right. And I'm just going to
I
take
mean,
low hanging
that's why
fruit with
we
that.
shouldn't really be in the wild card category. We're in the pretender category until we do.
If I'm being
something, but
very real, like right now, I feel like
Do it.
this
yeah,
Do it.
is
Okay.
I think
where
we
we
got to.
belong.
I'm going
if
to pick a
I'm
wild
just
card
being-
team then.
if not one below it.
All right,
Yeah, I'm
All
going
right.
to pick a wild card team so we don't have one. Put the Ravens in the wild card. I
Ravens.
don't think they're a great team, but I think that they're going to make the playoffs. And on a good day, they could beat anybody, but they just don't show up every week.
Yeah. My turn. I am going to pick wild team, and I'm saying the Green Bay Packers.
Ugh.
Oh,
So
I'm arguing
bad.
that. No, I think they're pretenders, dude.
They're getting
Nah,
hot
dude.
though.
What-
They're
what
getting
ma-
hot. They're moving up.
I need to
And
watch them score
considering-
42 points from you that
considering-
day, and he didn't do it.
Considering you're going to have to trust them more than the Commanders, which I do, more than a team like the Lions, even maybe. I know that might be tougher.
All right. I mean, how are they going to make it in? Are they going to win their division? I don't think
They've got no. They can't win the
They
division.
can't.
The Vikings won it last
I don't
week.
think
They've
they're
gotta
They
going
have
to
be
to
go
wild
to
win
the
card.
out.
playoffs.
They have to
Yeah.
win out, right? They're
Yeah.
not eliminated. They're not mathematically
So, like, the
eliminated.
No, there's only
Lions
two teams
have
mathematically
this-
eliminated. Yeah.
The Lions have the same chance as the Packers then?
No, I think the
Of
Packers are
making the
behind the
playoffs?
Lions. I think the Packers have to win out. The Lions can lose one
What's
game.
the
and
Packers'
they're
record right now?
'Cause
then
they
if-
are, I believe.
6 and 8, I think.
Then we have to put the Lions as a wild card, man. That's my pick.
Okay.
And I don't know if it
Yeah.
was my pick, but
Yeah, it was.
I think with
was,
that
yeah.
math, I mean, I think if anything, like I think Green Bay is kind of in the pretender category at the moment because I don't think they're going to honestly make the playoffs. I think the Lions have a
Right.
better chance of making the playoffs, but I could be wrong. So I like that. All right, what's up next?
CK.
Go with your passionate takes. No one wants to touch the Browns right now.
The Browns are so unpredictable, like with not
Didn't they
knowing
win?
what
I need to look at
Deshaun
their-
is. I'm gonna say the Titans are pretenders.
Good call. Good call.
They're flailing right now.
All right. I'm gonna say that the Rams are trash. I can't believe we don't have them eliminated yet.
Yeah.
That is pretty funny. Just because this feels too good to do and to pass up on. Falcons are trash,
They're
dude.
trash.
And we all know
I
that.
agree with that.
And we all know that.
I think we should put
Tony?
the Browns in the pretenders category
Okay.
because unless they're mathematically eliminated, they're 6 and 8 right now. They have the same record as the Steelers. They're 3-game. The Ravens are 9 and 5. The Bengals are 10 and 4. So not only are these guys going to have to win out, that's scraping at a wild card that you're probably not going to be able to get with the Chargers in there. With the Titans are 7 and 7, by the way. Put the Browns at pretenders. That's my idea.
All right. CK.
Jets are wild cards.
Really?
Ooh, yeah.
They're
That's what I was
7
going to
and
be my next one.
7.
That was going to be my next one. Yeah, I agree with that.
Oh,
Oh,
dude,
no.
that's
Yeah.
tough.
So who are the
Mhm.
wild cards going to be? It's going to be like the Ravens, the the Dolphins. There's only 3 wild cards. So is it the Dolphins?
Well, there's 3.
I don't look at
divisions.
this as I don't look at
Okay.
this as wild card, but there's 6
Okay.
total wild cards in the NFL.
I'm just saying if they
technically.
could actually make the playoffs is what
If
I'm
we
saying.
have you ranked under wild cards, you're a team that would sneak into the playoffs.
Right.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I
And I'm
could see
gonna-
the Jets being there.
I like the way you described that.
I'm going to put the Raiders as pretenders.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to have a great offense this
Yeah, I mean,
year,
they're
and
6
maybe
and
next
8,
year they
I agree.
will, but
Yeah.
they're just not clicking this year.
I will put the Commanders as pretenders.
I agree with that.
I
I
just
think
don't. I don't trust that roster down the road.
Oh, you know what? 7 and 7. You know what? We're gonna put the I think we should put the Seahawks in as wild cards.
Yeah.
Damn.
Like I
Hmm.
think there's a way they sneak in.
I agree.
There
I agree.
might be a way they actually pull off a win, but I could see a scenario where they sneak in, don't win. I can see a scenario where they don't sneak in.
I just feel like one of those 2 teams that we just added to wild cards doesn't. One of them doesn't belong. I don't know which one, but
Green
just one of
Bay.
them-
Yeah, I don't think Green Bay belongs, but
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
it's
Who's
so
next?
I don't
touchy,
think
got
the
a couple of
Jets
teams. Let's get-
belong. All right,
Cody's
go ahead.
next.
I'm up.
Or I'm sorry, CK's next. That was after Tony. CK.
I say the Colts trash.
Yep.
Trash.
I think that's an easy one.
I'm gonna
Greg?
follow you up and say the Bears are trash.
Yeah.
Dude, I love y'all. Because y'all live in the fun ones. For me, the Saints are trash, dude. Fuck New Orleans.
I'm gonna say what is the? Want to look at the what's the?
Steelers and Patriots are the only teams we haven't.
I think the Steelers are pretenders. The Patriots, there. What's their record?
Oh, Patriots is tough.
7-7. Yeah,
I don't think they're making a wild card in that division.
I'm gonna
though.
say this: Patriots pretenders.
Yeah, I have to
Patriots.
agree.
Pretenders. CK, last word goes to you.
Steelers, it's so hard to just put them in the same category. I don't know.
They're either pretenders or trash, and they beat us. So then we have to move us down to trash.
That's what I'm saying.
Dude.
And honestly, I think that they're a good team minus a quarterback. And really, if they play the way they did on Sunday or regularly, they're not a trash team, and they're a wild card if they play that well. If they can have those things connect like that, that's why I'm having a debate here in my mind. I almost want to put them at wild card
team. Yeah, you need one more AFC wild card team to give them 6.
Now, it doesn't mean that they're
I
going
say
to
pretender. That's my vote.
So we're gonna do something interesting.
I'm gonna
after
vote
this.
pretender too. Yeah.
Well, so we're gonna do something. We're gonna do one more interesting thing. Go ahead, CK. After you're done.
I'm
with
gonna say pretender. Let's just put them in that list.
All right, pretender. Now we're gonna go through to each of us. We're gonna go. Greg, me, Tony, and then CK, and you get to move one of these teams up or down.
Okay.
And by the way, there is no veto, so whatever you say is final. They have to move either up or down.
Okay. Well, you know what? Then I'm gonna move the Carolina Panthers to wild cards.
Oh, wild card, baby! All right, I like it. I like it.
I feel like I should just, you could veto that by moving the team back.
No, he said he couldn't. That was final, right?
Yeah, you.
But I can't use my pick to now move the Panthers down.
No. You
Okay.
have to have a.
Wow.
All right, I am. Boy, I have to move one. I am going to say that. Oh, damn, this is tough, man. I'm going to say I'm going to move Seattle down to pretenders. I just do not believe in. No, you know what? No, Jets. I don't.
Okay.
I'm moving the Jets down to pretenders. I believe in Geno Smith more than I believe in Zach Wilson.
That's a good call.
If we could have all used our picks to do not veto someone's pick, but continue to adjust the same team, there is a scenario where we could have had the Panthers as Super Bowl contenders. Like one of us just all move the Panthers up.
Just bump them up.
Who's up?
All right,
Who's up next?
Tony, you're up.
All right, mine is I think we should move the 49ers down to playoff contenders.
Okay.
I think that if their quarterback, yes, I agree with your argument about Shanahan can overcome, but I just feel like if they're just not like in the front runners in the pack because of that, because of quarterback.
Yeah. Okay. CK. Final.
I'm going to move the Vikings up to
again?
Super Bowl contenders.
Oh wow!
Wow, good call.
Damn. All right. Wow.
Nice list.
Quite the list we have here, man. So right now, this would mean that according to the C3 Panthers Podcast, your Super Bowl contenders are the Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Minnesota Vikings. Your playoff contenders is the Dallas Cowboys, the Miami Dolphins, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Los Angeles Chargers, and the San Francisco 49ers. And I won't read them all off, but I have to go to the wild cards. We have the Baltimore Ravens, the Green Bay Packers, the Detroit Lions, the Seattle Seahawks, and your very own Carolina Panthers, baby. How y'all feel? How y'all feel about this list, man?
I mean, there's only a couple that I would probably change, but beyond that, it's almost identical to my list.
A lot of AFC up in there. I wonder.
got a
So let's
high-powered
see if
offense.
it's just in the
Yeah.
top realms. Actually, 1, 2, 3, A, 4, 5, 6 AFC, and 1, 2, 3, 4 NFC. Did I get that count right?
NFC. Yeah.
Yeah. We need an NFC team we need the NFC to get it together a little bit right now.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what's up next? Cat calls? What we got?
Yeah,
next?
it's
We got
about.
more
Yeah,
stuff?
it's about. No, that's all for the slides. Time to hear from C3 Panther Nation. Damn it! It's time to hear from the best damn Panther fans in all of YouTube. The number is 252-228-5098. Let's listen to what these Panther fans have to say.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like.
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use one?
Hey guys, it's the growl that makes him howl, aka Joey the Blind Panther. And yeah, it's Monday, dude, but so we're talking about traditions, right? How we need to start them. I got an idea. The fans need to sing along to some song. Any song, right? That the fans would sing along to, like, I don't know, Mr. Brightside, the Colorado Avalanche do all the small things. Some song that people would sing along to. I will just, sing along to it at, I don't know, the beginning of the first or the second half. Oh, I got one. We should sing along to The Boys Are Back. Dude, that song's awesome. Anyway, guys.
Boy,
Damn.
it just gets longer and longer each time. We've been talking about one thing one of the things we need to do is we're trying to get some fan traditions started in Bank of America. We need the fans to show up, A, to get that started.
Right.
B, my number one vote is to get rid of Sweet Caroline and to do the North
Petey
Carolina, the Petey
Take
Pablo.
a shirt off, spin it like a helicopter. That's the best song ever, dude.
Yeah, but
love
I
it.
think
That's what it
this
is.
is like
It's like
we
graduating
could
song.
need
Was it really?
Yeah.
we need some more emotion in there. So yeah, I don't know if the boys are back. Is that what he's talking about?
Yep.
Like,
The boys are back in town.
it's got to be something about Banks or something we can do. But I'm over Sweet Caroline. It's a Boston thing.
Everybody gets so upset too. It's
When
like
you-
it's not our song.
yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, they're saying Carolina. They're not even saying Carolina.
And he's from New Jersey.
Yeah, it's just not. It doesn't.
Nothing
It doesn't.
about
Hey guys,
Sweet
AU
Carolina.
again. Still fading from the loss, but it is what it is. Sounds like Wilkes gave them a little too little to do last week and delayed practice a little bit. And that's what he thinks is the problem. I think there was also scheme issues and players just not playing as hard as they could. So Friday, I had surgery. Got 8 screws and a titanium plate in my ankle because I broke a bone. Yay, me. But I'm still thinking we need, as much as our defense is great, I still think we need a middle linebacker, a true captain of the defense. Because I don't think we have one. But he just can't see plays before they happen. I think.
Hold on. I think he either got cut off.
Who's he talking about?
It's over. Call's over. He was talking about the need for us to get a captain of the defense, which I think is true in many ways. As somebody, we're kind of missing that middle presence, it feels like. And I know we've said about Shaq Thompson. He's been, to me, whelming. Not underwhelming, not overwhelming. And that is a position, though, in the draft that you can really, that there's talent at that position that tend to blossom sooner than later when you get the right guy. It's not like you have to wait 5 years for their body to grow into it. There's a lot of times you can find a linebacker in the 3rd or the 2nd round who has I think of the guys. A lot of them actually have played under Shanahan, like with the 49ers. What about who's the one linebacker for the Buccaneers that's real good? Not the first round
David?
pick. Yeah, Levante David. Was he the first round pick?
No, you're talking
about.
about.
Yeah, no, that's the Devin White, right, or something.
Devin.
Levante David White. There is talent to get there. So yeah, that's a position grade I would rather for us to see upgrade in the draft, to be honest, with some real collateral behind our bet than this continued 3-4 million guy in free agency that we've done over the last couple of years, from tired Whitehead to these other guys. And maybe we'll see what's his name, Brandon Allen, step up and be a player in the future.
Especially for us, having such high-end linebacker play for such a long time. We're just not used to the middle of we're not used to the middle of our front 7 being that putrid and that pathetic. So I agree. And that's why I want to sign Bozeman and a lot of these free agents, so that way we're not having to allocate future draft picks to those positions.
That's a good point.
Good point. And hey, before we go to the next call, Panther Gal 73 $2 love bomb says Baker still sucked yesterday. LOL. Thank you, Panther Girl. And yes, he definitely did suck.
All right, next call, 252-228-5098.
What's up, C3? It's
What's
Anthony
up, Anthony?
From Charlotte. Just thought I'd give my thoughts on the upcoming game and the past game. So I went back and watched the full game. I guess you can call it the all 22 or whatever. And I mean, I know we've had trouble stopping the run, and that's kind of been, the main problem since like 2017. And I can easily say that I don't think it's as much as our D line. I think our linebackers are just
perfect
average.
timing.
Like Shaq, just like Tony said it the other day, he was like, Shaq isn't overwhelming or underwhelming. He's just whelming. And that's the truth. Like, some of these guys have reached their peak. And it was really surprising because Najee Harris, I said this in my call, has been one of the worst statistical running backs all season. And he's been known as a fantasy bust this year. So I was really, really upset that we couldn't stop him. Now, moving to the offense. Oh, yeah. Keith Taylor was bad, really bad. When you play man coverage, you got to have physical dudes locking receivers up. And the Pittsburgh receivers are not world beaters at all. So, I on some third downs, I really thought we should have dropped back in coverage instead of all out blitzing. Trubisky just found an open dude.
Yeah.
Most of the time it was Keith Taylor. But quickly, I want to move to the offense. Man, we just got bullied. And TJ Watt makes a huge difference on the Steelers' D-line. There was definitely, Greg said this too. Sam Darnold, I went back. Maybe I was a little too harsh on him. He was a fine manager. But Joe Burrow or Allen or Mahomes or Brady, Rodgers, Lamar, they probably would have scored 14 points on those 2 red zone drives instead of 6. That would have made this a completely different game. So, they're.
He's going to have a second part of the call. I did prematurely talk about my heater. My flex just went under. Ugh. Promo code C3 PrizePicks. Don't count your chickens before the eggs hatch, or whatever the saying is. Let's go to another call.
Second time caller.
Yeah.
I just wanted to share a thought. I feel like the Panthers defense personnel is built for a 3-4 defense, where you'd have Shaq and Middleton up the inside linebacker, Lou Boone Burns an outside linebacker, with Brown and Leonidas at defensive end, and McCall at nose tackle. I feel like that would, bring out the best of Burns and Lulu. As a matter of fact, even Brown. Anyways, that's all I got to say. Good job, guys. Keep it up.
All right. Thanks for the support. Let's keep rocking and rolling.
Thank you, man.
Let's go back to Anthony.
What's up, C3? Part 2 my call because I got cut off. I know you guys hate part 2, so I'm gonna make this quick. But yeah, I mean, listen, QB, it's definitely a need. But I will say that there are things we need to get before that. Another edge rusher. I've been hard on Brian Burns, because in my opinion, elite guys can still impact the game when there's no other threat on the other side. I've seen this multiple times with multiple different guys. We need another DN. We need to draft a linebacker. Okay. Shaq Thompson, I think he won't be a Panther next year. He'll be off the books. He's making too much money to be whelming. Re-sign Bradley Bozeman, maybe draft a couple offensive linemen. I'm really high on Cade Mays. Shout out to Panther Pickle. I know that's one of his Tennessee guys. He is a beast. I've seen his film. We need another cornerback because I'm on Greg's side with this, man. CJ Henderson makes like 1 or 2 interceptions and everyone's like, oh, let's go. But when you really look at his man coverage grades, they are underwhelming. And J.C. Horn has really been the only superstar on this defense. I mean, Brian Burns had a great stretch. It's just we need more superstars. Tony said this in the post-game show, and it's 100% true. We need to hit on a draft where we get like 5 to 6 starters on the defensive side or offensive side of the ball. Now, 2020, we did that with Derek Brown, and guess what? He's the only guy that has made any impact. Like, you cannot just hit on a first-round pick. We've done this in past drafts as well. Our first-round picks have been so legendary that they've been able to cover up so many holes. Like Luke Kuechly was such a great pick that we never really needed top cornerbacks. We never really needed that good of a D-line. But obviously, when we all put it together and Josh Norman was having an all-pro season, yeah, that's why our defense was elite. So I think we need a linebacker there. Going into this week, I'm going to the game. It's going to be lit. But we have to win.
Be cold,
we have to win. I don't see Tampa Bay losing to Arizona this week, especially with Trace McSorley as quarterback. So we got to win this, man. And I hope I hope Wilkes lets Sam Darnold throw it a little more. I think Terrence Marshall has some great potential alongside with DJ Moore. So those are my thoughts. C3, you're the best. Keep on pounding. Anthony from Charlotte, love y'all boys. Keep motherfucking pounding.
Keep pounding.
Cody, we need is that the Panthers need some stars, and we need some stars to align together. And one of the questions that has emerged after last week's gut check had to do with the guy who we believed was one of those budding stars that you hit on in a second round, third round type of capacity, a guy that has outplayed what you expected his expectation. And that player was Jeremy Chin. For his first 2 seasons, he has really his first season was one of those that was ultimately like a Jamar Chase season on the offensive side of the ball. It was such a great season. It was going to be very difficult to replicate that and even or exceed it, let alone replicate it. I think a lot of Panther fans understood that, and Jeremy Chin still played very well in his second year, maybe not as great as he did that rookie year. There have been some question marks, though, this season that have emerged where some people have questioned that first judgment of Jeremy Chin being a star player, a guy that you could buy his jersey going forward because he's dealt with injury this season. And now some people are starting to question his play over the last couple of games. Jeremy Chin, star or not, Cody?
Listen, man, do we need to have this conversation about Jeremy, man? I'm a big fan of Jeremy. I know we all are. I don't know if Jeremy Chin is necessarily worthy of all of the praise that everybody heaps on him all the time. I'm not saying that this is that he is a bad football player. I mean, I love Jeremy, but the fact of the matter is, we keep on having this for the past. Where does Jeremy Chin belong? Some people say Jeremy Chin is a linebacker and that he's best serviced in that linebacker spot. Now, I've been a proponent of saying, no, leave the man at safety, let him get better in coverage, and let him play the position that he should more naturally be playing. And I would be lying to you if I told you that he wasn't very underwhelming in coverage. He has not been a tremendous coverage safety, and he has been somewhat of a liability to the point where I wonder if maybe, we heap a lot of criticism on Brian Burns and how, he's the superstar that we want him to be, or Shaq Thompson is just mid-level. But I feel like we do not have this conversation enough about Jeremy Chin. And yeah, it's at the point where I don't know what to attest to it. Are we playing him out of place? Is it just a liability in the backfield? I don't know, but so far, to steal a word from Tony Dunn, I've been very whelmed by Jeremy Chin.
I want to start off this by saying that Jeremy Chin is. Am I muted? No.
No,
we can hear you.
Okay, just making sure. I wasn't looking at the screen. Jeremy Chin is a second-round pick, so he's not a first-round pick. Okay,
Right.
I'm looking. I have the same thing pulled up right here, looking at his stats. He does have 27 targets this year and 21 receptions, so it's not great this year. But if we look at his stats overall, in 3 years, well, not even 3 full years, he has 272 tackles. 94 assists, three sacks, 2 interceptions in a little less than 3 years. That's second round number 64 pick numbers.
So here's my only argument with this. Tackles are an important piece to this, right? However, he's a safety for the majority of his career. And we had the same conversation with regard to Trey Boston and Reed and everything like that. If, in all honesty, if he's tackling, that means that people are catching in his area, right? That means that he's maybe not doing the right thing,
or
as
that
a
your
safety.
defense just sucks,
Right?
And you're like getting to second.
That your safety is the
level.
last line of defense.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think there is some credence to it. Now, I'm not saying that it is 100% the case that Jeremy Chin is a liability, but it certainly hasn't been the star-studded, Jeremy Chin that we have been accustomed to.
He hasn't played. Look, this is a season of injury for him. I mean, look, has he missed 6 games or whatever, right? I mean, he played the first 4.
Right.
And then he came back from injury against Baltimore, and he's played the last 1, 2, 3, 4. And you got to wonder if this is a season where he's just not at his best, but you're right, is that he's not having a star year. Let's put it that way. And sometimes that's injury. The question is that injury? Is it position? What else does it tell you about the defense? But as a guy in his first season, you could see him after that season. You're thinking, man, this guy could be you're starstruck through the first 2 seasons, really. Just really good, a lot of production. So it does stink. So right now we don't have any stars on our defense. The only star we have is a rising one, and that is J.C. Horn, arguably. Or you could say Burns is a rising star, or as he peaked. But thought that was interesting. as we were going forward.
And I wonder too, we talked earlier about Taylor Moton. Maybe he looked better because he had such bad players around him. Do you think maybe Jeremy Chin could fall into that category too? That he's had a bad.
He just hasn't had any
group around him?
turnovers this year. That's the thing, is he's missed games. And
He's only had one in each year though before this. It's not like he's a turnover machine.
Nah, he had one
But
game. He had two.
But you remember earlier in the season
touchdowns
when
in one game.
Remember when I had put out some news from the source that we had that Jeremy Chin was upset with how he was being used in the defense and how he wanted to play more of the safety role as opposed to the linebacker role that Phil Snow had kind of been using him in.
And now we're doing that.
Yeah. But I wonder if it's a conversation of, well, we need to have an entire off season of Jeremy Chin preparing in this specific role before you're going to see him, thrive pretty much and be that best version of himself. And Tony, you mentioned needing a middle linebacker in the middle of our defense. I wonder if you start to add some of those pieces. Now, all of a sudden, does Jeremy Chin start to look like the player that we've all been talking him up to be?
I would say he just hasn't had a good season this year. I don't think he's been particularly bad either. I think it's just, more up, All right, let's go to the next call. I think it's the last one.
What's up, guys? This is Dee. Just want to give C3 a shout out. Please like and subscribe. Longest running Panthers podcast.
Man, thank you.
I just want to give you my thoughts on Wilkes here going into this Detroit game. I'm extremely worried about Wilkes being retained as the head coach. If we go 1-4 through these final games of the season, I feel like Wilkes' job is in jeopardy. Not only is Wilkes a hometown guy, Wilkes is entrenched in the community here in Charlotte. It's a big deal, I think, to the community that Wilkes is retained. Hopefully, he can find a way to win here against Detroit, but I feel like the odds are definitely a stack against them, just as they've been all year. Us looking so bad last week against the Steelers, I feel like it's going to be hard for us to come together to muster up some kind of offense and defensive performance that's going to be able to beat Detroit. If we lose to Detroit, guys, there's no way we're going into Tampa Bay and beating Tom Brady and what could be one of his final, if not the last game of his career. I just don't trust the NFL to give the Panthers that win, especially with an interim head coach. The other thing about that, if we lose Wilkes, if Wilkes doesn't get the head coaching job, what direction we're going becomes really unpredictable. We could be looking at Dan Quinn as our head coach, which I fear the most, and us in the middle of a 3 to 4 year rebuild with a whole bunch of players that we don't want. Highly a possibility. But if we retain Wilkes, we can kind of pick and choose, and we know what we're going to look like next year, and we have the ability to predict and talk about and guess, where we're going to be. We need this game to Detroit. Against Detroit. I can't tell you how important this is. Protect the Bank failed miserably. It was 70% Steelers fans. It was an embarrassment. I went there and showed it as loud as I could, but it hurt. It hurt when I left. I left with a bunch of Steelers fans that went home with the dub, and we didn't really look that great except for Sam's 225 passing yards. I don't know. Keep pounding, C3. Let's get them. Let's get them on Saturday.
What a good call. Thank you very much for your support.
Fantastic.
If Steve Wilkes, I don't want another. We don't keep. If we don't decide to keep Steve Wilkes, I want us to go in a clearly different direction. And I am not ready to pick the San Francisco 49ers defensive coordinator. I know a lot of people are high about him. I tell you, the last person I do not want Dan Quinn. I tell you this is I don't want anybody like that. No Lovie Smith, no Dan Quinn, no who is it down in Houston right now? Those are basically just old.
Pep Hamilton.
No, he's an offensive guy. The head coach right now is
Lovie Smith.
It's Lovie Smith. Who is? I'm thinking. Todd Bowles for the Bucks.
Yeah.
Like these are just young versions of those guys at this point. Steve Wilkes is that guy. You might as well just keep him. if you're going to get any of those guys, you might as well just keep him. If we don't go with Steve Wilks, I want us to go towards I'll listen to you guys in the Ken. I don't like the Ken Dorsey, but I'll listen to you on it. I like the idea. Maybe the guy from Dallas. You could talk about the OC from Philly, right? A lot of people, or is that their head coach? Who is it that somebody has been talking about an OC? It was either out of Sirianni's coaching tree or
the offensive coordinator for the Eagles and the
Eagles?
Lions.
Okay.
Has been, yeah.
But I'd really be saying Harbaugh. I don't know. Is that like a, do you want, I just don't want a lateral move when it comes to Wilks.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so hard. I feel like with coaches, it's just like players. It's who you're teamed up with. I really don't know where to go with coach.
Is there really a difference though between some of these guys? Like, is there really a difference between a Ron Rivera, Lovie Smith, and is that they're just guys that I don't know. I mean, like I feel like Wilks is one of those guys. He may as well be the guy if you're just going to get a guy who you want to be a kind of constant and like safe play.
Well, it sounds like you want a splash play. So basically, it's almost like defense or offense. Like defense feels safe, offense feels like a splash play.
Safe, you might as well stay safe with Steve Wilks.
Yeah,
that's why I'd rather just hire Steve Wilks than any of those other guys. You're going to have to convince me with some sort of splash to go other than Wilks. That's what I'm saying. You have to tell me something other than. Don't bring to me one of that, like another like Salah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Basically, the guy from 49 is just the next Salah.
I hope that I'm not prophetic here, but I've said this for a while. A head coaching hire that to me has David Tepper's name written all over it is Bill O'Brien.
Oh God,
the offensive coordinator now the Alabama Crimson Tide, formerly of the Houston Texans, has a playoff pedigree. The only problems arose when he was the GM in Houston. Tepper's not going to let that happen again. Yeah. He's an offensive-minded coach, and he has that experience. So I'm not saying that's my first pick. I'm saying it doesn't surprise me if that's a name that you hear start to pop up if Steve Wilks is not indeed the coach going forward.
Wilks has to win it. Wilks is, you know what? Yeah. Wilks' interview is happening right now.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's what it is that Wilks is like whatever happens after December, it don't matter how he interviews. Like you can not hold the interview. You know if you're going to hire him or not, basically. Like his interview has already occurred. So he's got a lot to play for, and that's why I think he's been putting so much into it, and I'm rooting for him in so many ways. Let's go ahead and head around in the final segments of the show. Let's look around the NFL and just talk some of the more general news out there. And sometimes it's always fun when you see the links back to the Carolina Panthers. I laughed at this one a little bit. At Marcus Harvey on Twitter says Baker Mayfield is not only going to get 3 head coaches fired, Odell Beckham, OBJ cut, and Christian McCaffrey traded. He's going to retire Sean McVay, Hall of Fame resume, and destroyer of careers. Baker Mayfield,
hilarious.
I guess had the struggles you would expect in this last game. And that's why I told you guys, don't be talking junk about Ben McAdoo. You should have been talking junk about the Raiders defense in that game. When it comes to Baker's success and failures, Baker, he looks broken, man.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like, you know what, his best days are behind him. That's what I would say.
And like, if we're looking at it, he was never a high upside quarterback. Even when he came out of Oklahoma, he came out of a spread offense. They designed a lot of receivers open. He's not very mobile. He's not as good as an athlete as he thought he was. He's not going to outrace defensive ends to the edge. Just, he's not that dude, man. He was drafted number 1 overall And that's why typically if you're going to draft a quarterback number 1 overall, they need to be a talent, trait, upside type of player. And
Michael,
he's
no
not
worries. No, Sean McVay is not retiring. In fact, we can go ahead, and neither is I got it up here, Matthew Stafford. What the tweeter was just saying, and this is for someone looks like you're a Seahawks fan, and that is this is just a Carolina Panthers fan probably talking about how epic of a season Baker Mayfield has had, or career. He's the career destroyer. He is the destroyer of worlds in ways, and to the fact that all of these other things that he's destroyed, and then now it's so bad at this point. The Rams are having their struggles. Like, it's not ridiculous to think that Aaron Donald and Sean McVay could just say, you know what, we retire.
So I watched that game, and one of the things, and I'll talk about something about that game that's pretty cool, but I watched that game, and Troy and Buck were just sucking Baker's member, right? Oh, he's slinging it. He came in here. I'm a real big fan of Baker Mayfield. If he was on the Carolina Panthers, they'd be talking shit about him the entire game. He came in there and he looked exactly the way that he looked here. Everybody last week, they took that one game and they were like, oh my God, he's just an incredible. He went against the Oakland Raiders and it wasn't even like he played that well.
And he almost threw 2 pick sixes in that final drive. One of them was taken away and one was a near miss.
So, I mean, and that's not to take away. That was a beautiful pass that he made. But everybody was crowning him as being like the savior of the Rams. It was just this big PR thing. And I was waiting for people to realize that he's still the same Baker. Nothing has changed. His circumstances have changed. He's got a different coach, and it's clear that his coach can't even get him in a position to be able to succeed. One of the most offensive geniuses the biggest offensive geniuses out there, according to everybody, and he's still not able to do anything with Baker. Baker looked pedestrian. Baker was a big reason why they lost that game. He was doing all the same things, holding on to the ball too long, making the short read instead of seeing a wide open guy down the field over here on the right side. He was doing just horrendous things. And it was just, I don't want to wish that illness on anybody of being a bad football player, but you almost wanted to when he asked to be released, because it was an indictment on us if he went over there and succeeded. More so than anything else.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think it just reminds us that win last week against Oakland was a nothing burger, and that people way overread into the significance of the Rams making a fourth quarter comeback against a terrible, terrible Oakland Raiders defense.
Right.
And Panther fans wanted to try to learn. They wanted some sort of, I guess, assurance that it wasn't us, right? Like, is that by Baker going out and doing that in the fourth quarter, Panther fans started to question Ben McAdoo and these different things. And I just told you guys, don't worry. Don't worry. This was nothing. They only put up 3 points the whole damn game and just had two drives and more about a defensive collapse. And this game against this week only shows it more. I just see him running around, scrambling out there, and I go, not it. But tell you somebody who got it. How about this? Jalen Hurts actually hurt his shoulder in that Chicago game, sprained shoulder. They are trying to practice them, and it's under the assumption right now that he can play, but there is a chance that he won't play. And, man, if he doesn't, Gardner Minshew, my man, Minshew Magic, could be starting against the Dallas Cowboys, and he would get a new weapon back from IR. Look, the Eagles have been soaring this year. They've been incredible. Dallas Goedert was a big part of their success early on, but had to go to IR. Really, frankly, ruined one of my fantasy football teams, or at least made it a lot harder for me in the middle of a packed team try to pull ahead. Instead, I fell behind because of injury and buys and different things. Dallas Goedert coming back. Jalen Hurts, man, you'd hate to see him actually hurt, but boy, Gardner Minshew, Carolina Panthers 2023 starting quarterback, has an opportunity to beat the Cowboys and show you why he might be one of the free agents out there people are going to like. Is this news, guys? More about Jalen Hurts, probably.
No, this is more about you having a huge man crush on Gardner Minshew, I think. But hey, it's okay. You're allowed to pull for Gardner Minshew, dude. That's your guy. And no, he's not terrible, man. Like, listen, I think if you're the Eagles, they're probably, save for Nick Foles, right? There probably isn't another backup that you would want to have behind your quarterback. Like, the dude's a baller. He can throw the ball. He can spin the ball. He can do all the things that you want him to do. So, this is a good opportunity for you to pull for your man, Tony. I think he'll be able to pull it off.
How do you not like this guy? Look, Gardner Minshew.
I never said I didn't.
This past off season, I'm asking the world, how can you not like this guy? Gardner Minshew lived in an old prison bus this offseason. Talk about trying to toughen up as a player. Lived in this bus parked outside his trainer's gym in Florida, and even the Eagles allowed him to relocate to NovaCare during spring workouts. Imagine how badass you are when you drive your prison bus up to training camp. Minshew eventually moved, but the bus is still there. He said, I need to sell that thing. What a story.
Can I ask one question about this? With we did mention the bigger story here is probably Jalen Hurts being out. How does this hurt Jalen Hurts' MVP chances? If he's out 2 games,
hurts it.
If he's out 2 games, can he still win MVP when he's not number 1 in any category?
Is availability not one of the biggest aspects?
I think
of
it
being
is
an MVP player.
I think it is. Even if it's only 2 games, you're still number 1 in any category.
The argument you could have for him is anybody else doing what he's doing as well in all the categories, right? That's the argument I think that people are going to have as an MVP, right? Because it is considered a quarterback, driven award, but the reality is his entire performance that they've got to look at. And so if you look at Cam Newton's MVP season, he wasn't the best passer as far as like some of those stats, but it was his body of work as a rusher, his body of work as a leader on the offense. It was just there were too many things that he was better than average at, that made it to where it was like nobody else had that same level of consistency across the board.
See, this is why I can't marry you, CK. Like this right here, this reason.
Well, but hold on. Before we go crown CK, I will say though that yes, that is true. But Cam Newton didn't miss a game.
Sure.
And to that point, if Jalen Hurts does miss games, and you have Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen continuing to play well, and more importantly, let's say Gardner Minshew comes in and manages to beat the Dallas Cowboys in the place of Jalen Hurts.
That would probably hurt Jalen Hurts'
right.
MVP
That's what I'm
campaign.
saying. I think that would hurt Jalen Hurts' shot at that MVP.
If Hurts though missed 1 game and then came back and played well after that, I think he could overcome missing time. I think more than 1 game starts to leave your team out there, and then you have to ask those questions about did they win because of me, in spite of me, and these different things that you just don't have those questions on a guy that's played every game. And if it is a quarterback driven award, he's already fighting an uphill battle in some ways when other guys are just doing it in so much more prolific ways through the air.
But what would be the argument you have when you look at Lamar Jackson and Cam Newton? Like, they didn't do it prolifically through the air compared to many of the other quarterbacks in the league.
He had that many touchdowns as they did at this point.
He's
like, I would say Lamar's year was clear. Like, he threw and ran for like so many. If he's having that,
and Cam had 35 passing touchdowns.
Yeah. How many passing touchdowns does Jalen have?
22.
22. How many rushing?
13.
Okay, and so Cam had 10
Does
that
he
year.
really have 13?
Yeah,
damn, that's insane.
Yeah.
So Cam had 10 that year. What is his interception?
He has 4 or 5. I can't remember. He's low in interceptions.
Well, I mean, Cam had 5 that year, I think, right?
Yeah, and
he was 35.
Remember they have one more. They're going to have one more game at the end of the year. So I would say this is I think Cam, you have to have a season that where the yardage and the touchdowns and all of that is equivalent to at least Cam's number.
Right.
Regardless,
I agree with that.
He's in line to hit Cam's numbers.
He's on
he's
pace.
basically in line to
He's
hit
on
Cam's
pace.
numbers almost exactly.
Well,
I don't know. I don't know.
Numbers,
If, I don't,
but exceed the rushing numbers.
Well, I
touchdowns.
don't. I will say I don't think he's going to pass the passing touchdowns.
He might not.
22, yeah, I don't think he'll
Especially
get
if he misses
35.
time.
That's 4 in the next
Yeah.
3 games. 4
Yeah.
passing, and he's not even playing the next 2. So yeah, he won't pass that.
But we don't know for sure he's not playing the next 2, do we?
At least the next one.
No, like that's why I think he only can afford to miss one game. And
I don't.
have a
They're saying that he might
16-game
play
season.
this game against.
Yeah,
the
I know.
Cowboys.
There's
Jalen
no.
says that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. He is right now. All systems go.
Yeah.
That's
Remember
what it
Josh
sounds
Allen
like. And-
earlier in the year? Josh Allen hurt his elbow, and he was kind of will he, won't he play?
Right.
And then ultimately he did. Jalen Hurts is probably going to do the same thing.
Sure, and that's his throwing shoulder too. I know that Josh Allen's was his throwing elbow, but I'm concerned about that being his shoulder.
Yeah.
Moving forward, honestly.
Yeah.
Speaking of Lamar Jackson, that type of quarterback, and some of the things we've talked about on this show a lot. Right now, Raven fans are all over Greg Roman as offensive coordinator for the Ravens, calling for him to be fired. John Harbaugh shows support for his entire coaching staff late in the season. But right now, Lamar Jackson has had a little bit of injury, missed 2 games so far. The Ravens offense wasn't great with him at the helm by any means. Hasn't been good missing him either. And now the allure of that famed MVP season, not only for Lamar, falls a little bit more in the distant past, but more importantly for Greg Roman, his stock definitely falling right now and making it more and more sound absurd that I have been lobbying for him and Lamar to come here for the Panthers in a way. So that was a news bit that stuck out to me.
That's
I
interesting.
mean-
That's
Greg
also,
Roman's stock is falling. Actually,
But-
we need to start wondering how much is Lamar Jackson's in a way, because a guy who's bet on himself in his final year. Not that I think anybody's questioning his ability, but again, the question marks of availability, and you always get paid the most when you're there and you're balling out, and he's not there and balling out right now.
True, but I will say, even going back to our performance, when Lamar Jackson was in the game, it was a very close game. Like,
Right.
You could argue that if we had PJ Walker or Sam Darnold at quarterback in that game, maybe we would have won it. Like, it was a close game, and this is one of the things that I've said to Tony a lot. It's why I'm not a big time fan of Greg Roman like Tony is. And it's just because I feel like his offense is dependent upon a lot of important things. Number one, it's a mobile running quarterback that you're going to do a lot of design quarterback runs with and quarterback draws. And I just feel like you can do that for a little while. But if you don't have the right type of offense to do that, dude, if one of those pieces gets hurt, now the entire thing comes crumbling down.
Right. I think the Ravens are a very deceiving team this year too, because they won a few games. Like I think they've blown the most 14 or double-digit point leads in the league this year. Like almost all their losses are front, they had double-digit point leads. Like they get to a point where it's like they play super powerful offense in the first half and get a huge lead, and then they just turn it off. And everybody's like, "Well, the defense needs to hold." That's great, but the offense can still score. They still have opportunity to score, and they don't. Like they don't continue to do that. They just shut it off after they get a lead.
Just so Lamar dependent, man.
Yeah.
It's very reminiscent of a Panthers team with Cam Newton. It's just like either Lamar balls and you're great, or you just struggle to be pretty good.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. Also, I saw this wild stuff happen in the NFL this week. This one is Rasul Douglas was the latest. Made the latest blunder on this, guys. Rasul Douglas, former Carolina Panther, played well at a corner would be probably a lot better than CJ. Actually, I won't say probably. He would be better than us having CJ Henderson. J.C. Horn and Rasul Douglas would be nice in action together, right? And I think that would be a decent combo. Douglas moved on to Green Bay and has had a nice amount of success there, but in a crazy pick bringing up on Baker Mayfield, Rasul Douglas running the ball down the field decides to underhand lateral it at the last second. And it turned into a zany play, but it was a loss of yardage. Green Bay recovered the ball and would go on to win the game. But he's asked about it. He said, as I was going down, I underhanded it, and then I seen it hit the ground, and I was like, damn, this is about to be like the Raiders and Patriots. And he said his teammates were joking on, like, what the hell are you on? Like, are you drunk? Are you on drugs at this point? What the hell are you doing? This story to me just was funny, more funny because of what happened with the Patriots and the Raiders, guys. This final play where this running back, I guess, takes the ball back. He was from NC State, I think. Or no, the one that threw it was from NC State. So, Wolfpack fans. Did you guys see that Raiders play? The Raiders win?
Dude, I was. And it was so, it's part of my ice up, by the way. So
I think I tried to diagnose it, and I think I got it figured out, especially for the Raiders game or for the Patriots. I think that asking Belichick have you seen like when they've asked him, like, did you remind this? Did you coach them? Have you coached them on this moment? He's like, yeah. You talking about it? Yeah. Shouldn't let it go.
No,
but the thing is that to me, this is one of those plays, like, it's kind of absurd that you at this level really need to coach not to do that.
Is that
right?
coaching
And
or is that
is that like at this point? So I understand you need to be coaching situational moments. I don't know that this is such an indictment on the coaches to say, hey, don't kneel the ball if we're trying to win, or don't, like, this is like, duh, don't do this, right? Where the score is tied, you're not losing. We don't have to win on this play. We got to try to win or get to overtime. I mean, I guess you should have that conversation. I think this was mob mentality, dude. I think that one guy pitched the ball and everybody just said, oh, we're doing this? Let's go. Like, you just lose your senses for a moment. Yep. And this is a mob mentality. That first guy pitched it, then the next guy pitched it, and everybody's like, well, this is what we're doing. And then it turned into epic disaster.
I think you're 100% right on that, Tony. That's exactly what it was.
It certainly wasn't designed.
Yeah.
And if it is, Matt Patricia and Joe Judge need to be executed. It's certainly not designed. Rasul Douglas, yeah, crazy. I thought this was wild too, as we're talking about the Eagles and trying to get those. What does he got to get? 13 more touchdowns. You're talking about Jalen Hurts, not enough. Only 22 passing touchdowns, having an incredible year. Should he be MVP? Wild's one of his better receivers, the number one receiver last season, and now they got who they got? AJ Brown now, who is just balling out in the last couple of games. Deontay Johnson is on pace to have the least efficient touchdown season in the history of professional football. As of week 16, he's the first player ever to record over 109 targets without having a single touchdown. He's had 123 targets this season with no touchdowns. He said, DJ Moore, hold my beer. I know DJ Moore's had his most voluminous or prolific touchdown season, but he's been a guy that's had a ton of catches, a ton of yards, and not a lot of touchdowns. This is an incredible stat.
It does sound like a stat that DJ Moore almost could have had. I mean, you feel, it's like you feel bad for him, man. Dude, you realize that receivers, they are completely dependent on the quarterbacks that get them the football and the type of offense that they're in. So if you don't have that big time passing attack, you're gonna run the football, and so you're not throwing it
But
into
he's
the end
getting
zone at a
targets.
high clip
They're
anyway.
throwing it.
I was going to say
He's
109
getting
targets and he hadn't caught a touchdown. That's got to be somewhat his fault too.
It's just,
I mean,
I
that's
don't
got to
know.
be. You
It's
got
just
some blame's got to go on
epically
him.
bad luck. It's just like the game has just single-handedly not been in your favor. Every time it's been touchdown time, it's been Jalen Hurts and Brown.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm over here just eating up yards. I wonder how many yards he has. So anyway,
I don't know, but hey, I did want to mention real quick, our boy Al the Sailor checking in from the Suez Canal. Hey, it's about to be his 38th birthday, man. So this is a big C3 happy birthday to our man Algernon out there on the waters. Appreciate you, brother, and very happy birthday to you, man.
yeah, good morning and good 38th year
84
around the
baby
sun.
right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
34 times around the sun and many more to you. All right, that's my segment so far. That's around the news. That's what was sticking out to me and interesting. We now have to rock with the longest running segment on the C3 Panthers podcast. Let's ice some fools up, Cody.
Aw, shit. Let's do it.
Ice up, son. Ice up.
I request to go last because I have two of them and they're both a doozy.
Okay. The Ice Up segment is the longest running segment on the longest running Panthers podcast. This is where we tell someone ice up, toughen up to get it together. Ice Up picks are open to anything, not just the Carolina Panthers and football. This is the time we expand the conversation and have fun with society. Anything is fair game. Who wants to rock first? I've got a few this week, sadly. So someone else go with theirs, and then I'll go.
I'll knock mine out first because mine's just real quick. And I think part of my second one that I was going to have was going to be on something what CK is going to say. So I'm going to let him take that one away. Do y'all remember, everybody here is old enough to remember network television? Like before everybody was streaming, right? And there was,
right.
Does anybody remember what TLC, like TLC network?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the learning channel.
The learning channel, yeah.
Yes, the learning channel. Okay.
Oh, well, you learned about people having 73 kids.
Yeah.
Or you learned about people living 600-pound lives.
Yes.
Right,
Exactly.
So they've always done really crazy things, but like it seems like they're doing an extreme money grab right now because I just learned about the newest show coming out in January. It's on the Learning Channel is MILF Manor.
Oh,
it is a reality show, much like MILF Island, but the reality show MILF Manor, where eight women leave their homes to try to find love at a paradise destination. Which all this is so funny, like reality TV is so funny anyway. But there's a shocking twist in this one, like in any reality show. And the prediction is that it's going to be their sons. All 8 of their sons are the 8 people they have to date, which is even funnier.
God.
So like if you get a chance, look at the preview of this MILF Island. I would play it on here.
Imagine going on a double date with your friend or with another guy, and he was going out with your mom, and you were going out with his mom.
Right.
What in the world has this world come to?
Right.
Deserve it, Ice
insane.
Up pick. Yeah.
Yep. So I heard that the other day and I had to bring it on the show. I even sent a message to myself, a reminder to myself to remember this one so I wouldn't forget it. So to TLC, Ice Up.
All right. So I want to go with this. I got a couple, man. I got a couple of bookmarks. I saw this on Twitter, and it took me a minute because I had to look through all the comments and some different things to figure things out. But if you look at this paper right here, is that this guy, he put this tweet up, said that if the IRS knocks down my door, I'm answering with this on. Well, they sent federal agents to his house to investigate this. So if you look at the background of this picture, there is a federal agent here.
Damn.
And this you can see is another one. And look, you can see their card right there. And they had printed out these tweets and saying, we need to talk about this, son. Make sure you're not a literal threat. But then, of course, not only is that Ice Up funny in itself, it's the reply category that just goes crazy in here. And hold on, let me see. Is they just go through all the replies of people talking about how much toner the government spends to all of these different things about like why this is so dumb. So to this ice up, and it goes to whoever posted that, like kind of funny. Your post did go viral. It did go viral. This one I thought, this is mad. God, again, where the internet wins. The internet can teach me anything about the ice up pick here. So now there is this the new Bronco. You know, the new Bronco came out recently.
And they're gorgeous too.
They're
gorgeous.
badass. Like they're very badass. And now they got a Christmas gift where it's one of those kid cars, like the little electric ones that you love. Kids love to get at Christmas and parents love to give at Christmas. You're like the coolest kid when you're like 5 riding around in your electronic car, especially as they get better and better and the batteries work better and better now. So they got this Bronco one, but they got this black kid, this white girl in it. And not that that's a problematic, but the internet goes crazy on this mess. And if you get into the comments, people are asking, does it have AC? Because when OJ rode around with AC Green, whatever his name was, people were saying, oh, that man, they should have made this in white, the white Bronco. Look at this one. This put up here in my feed, this picture, and then OJ Simpson denies being Khloe Kardashian's father. Like the comments, bro, on this mess just go incredibly
And Darnell and Joy from My Name Is
And then I told you I had a lot. I had a couple of them queued up right here. But I got to play this one, and I got to make sure, hopefully, my sound is working. This right here is awesome. Can you hear this?
Yeah. Hey, I live in the neighborhood. My Wi-Fi name is 1744. Your wife is cheating. I don't know how you did not catch on. Your address is 1744, but every day when you leave for work, a Nissan parks 3 houses down, walks up the side of your house, goes in your back door. I'm assuming you don't have cameras back there? Okay, your wife is smart, but she is unfaithful. I'm going to walk this way, but I don't live this way.
Yo, what a good dude.
Wow.
Wow. Could you
Hey, Bob,
imagine?
is this guy, did he do the right thing?
Yeah.
Did he do the right thing?
Yeah.
What I love about this is this was his final step. He was like, bro, I've been trying so hard to leave you clues. My Wi-Fi name is 774 Whiteville Road. Your wife is cheating on you. So the guy, anytime he looks to hook his phone up, imagine your neighbor's Wi-Fi saying your wife is with your address, saying your wife. That's a clue, bro. That's a clue. And then he gets up with his hood. He's like, I'm walking this way, but I don't live this way. And then you're like, yeah, like this guy, great neighbor, terrible event. Ice up to that dude's whole situation, getting cheated on, his wife doing that. And good job with the best Wi-Fi name ever.
Can I spoil a little bit? I'm pretty sure this is scripted.
Do you think so? Dang.
Only because there's follow-up videos and he comes back and the dude is clearly acting.
Dang. Well, also another thing, the internet always wins, and with every video you see, it's likely fake at this point with the internet.
True.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, remember I played
fake
that
videos.
video of the children
Of the
dropping
TV, and we don't know. Yeah, we're trying.
Yeah, we don't know.
You should actually question everything on the internet. Like your first thing should be like, "Is this true?"
So I have 2.
CK
I have
didn't
2.
go.
Yes, okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So mine is going to be in this final, like in this. So if you watch the Oakland, or I'm sorry, the Las Vegas New England game, It was tied, and it was like 3 seconds left to go in the fourth quarter, so it was going into overtime. And then the Patriots had the ball with like those 5 seconds left, and so they started to do this. That annex of Puerto Rico is what they call it, right? Where they just do the lateral and lateral and lateral and stuff, And they do that, and then I can't remember his name. Jacoby Myers throws the ball back, trying to get it to Mac Jones, and throws it to Chandler Jones, right? Am I right?
Yeah, you're right. You got all the names.
So the funny part about it isn't just that. He throws it backwards to Chandler Jones, and Chandler Jones
tackle or something
takes it for the touchdown with 5 seconds left to go in the game, ends the game with that. Now, that's not the funny part. That's not the part that I'm icing up. The part that I'm icing up is the guy that we all hate as Panthers fans because of what he did to Brian Burns.
Yeah.
And it's
Mac
no
Jones.
fault of his own. Mac Jones did nothing wrong in this scenario, but he got murdered by Chandler Jones. Chandler Jones caught that ball, turned around. Mac was like, I guess I'm going to try to tackle you. And he just shoved his head into the turf like he was a fucking toddler, bro. I absolutely loved it. It was the best moment of that entire game. And so to Mac Jones, who deserved every bit of what he had coming his way, I want to say, ice up, son. Ice up.
The podcast I listened to today, said that he got stiff armed to Middle Earth. Yeah, sounds about
One
right.
person in the chat, Markel 619 said Mac Jones got dribbled. Oh, all right. Ice up Mac Jones and the Patriots. Go ahead, Cody.
Oh man, that's hilarious. So I am going to ice up hazing. And there's different levels to hazing, right? But in the NFL, there is a practice of whenever a rookie gets paid, he has to take out the entire team to dinner and pay the tab. Now, you're probably going to see it when I share, but it shares at the end of the video. My man had to pay. So this is the video. They're at dinner. Everybody's eating. This is Drake May for the San Francisco 49ers. He gets the tab. He's looking at all the food that everybody got. Look at how much money this man had to spend on dinner, bro. This has to be the most expensive dinner I've ever seen in my whole life.
I'm gonna ruin your ice up pick too. Is it the 400,000 number?
It was this right here.
Yeah, it wasn't that much.
No
it wasn't
way.
that much.
There's
That
no
was
way.
a joke they were playing on him, but he
Yeah.
did spend like
$200,000 gratuity. Yeah.
I was about to say, what in the heck?
No,
Dude,
here,
how
I
does that
favored
even
it tweet.
work?
No, this is part of the joke. But yeah, again, hold on. I favorited it earlier. Good Lord. I'll find it.
Did
Go
y'all
on, you
see
got
this
two.
flying around? So this is fake. He didn't pay. Dude, I was about to say that's a lot of fucking
Right.
money.
Is
dude.
hold on. Is a guy, his name was something Armstead put it up. And he said they got the waitress to, or the waiter to like enter some insane amount. That's why they were it goes on this. Eric Armstead said, "You're silly if you thought the dinner could cost $300K. It was a prank. The dinner was $7,500. Me and two other vets gave $1K towards it. So he had to pay the Rooks split $4,500.
Oh, well, that's not bad.
Yeah. So
Hey,
still.
how about this? I
still a fun story.
us up for believing the shit that we see
But
on
the internet,
you know?
man. Don't you have another though?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I do, and this one is very, very real. Did you guys hear about Willie McGinnis? Did you guys hear about Willie McGinnis?
No, what happened?
Oh, dude, Willie McGinnis was charged with assault for beating the hell out of a man in the LA hotspot earlier this month. Punched a guy in the face and bashed him in the head with a bottle. Don't believe me? Let's check out the footage. So This is William McGinnis right here. All of a sudden, gets up in this dude's face.
He slept with his woman.
Boom! And then a brawl
He owes him
starts.
some money.
So him and his homeboys jump in on this dude, and they start beating his
Look at this
ass,
pussy at the
man.
end.
Damn, yeah, they are beating his
But
ass.
hold up, look, watch McGinnis. McGinnis just picked up a bottle. You can't see it, but they're in man's hands. So watch him. He starts hitting him with the bottle.
He's in the white shirt right there, standing up.
Yeah, right here. Watch
Yeah,
him.
yeah, I'm watching. Picking the
He
dude
grabs the
up.
bottle. He reaches for the bottle. Boom, boom,
Pants all
boom,
falling down.
boom, 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 boom. And then he
Damn.
puts the bottle right there on
Oh,
the
it
hoping
tried
that
to
no one will
hide
see
that it
him.
was. Wow.
Damn.
Wonder what he did.
And then this is the
That
dude
guy
all
can take a
up
look.
ladies
That
up.
guy's tough right there.
Yeah, dude.
He's tough.
Yeah.
That dude's tough right there. He took a beating. Look,
So,
man, if you go back about halfway through
Didn't
that,
nobody
this
help
one
him
guy
out
that
either.
comes up, this one guy in this white t-shirt, go back a little bit further.
It's the most punk shit I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
by the way.
look at this one. Keep going back. Oh, this guy right here. Look at this guy that is at the bottom left. Yeah,
Yeah,
he just
pulls
got
the
out
guy
of the
back a
seat.
little bit.
Like, what a wussy punch that was, though. That guy in that white shirt right there, or that white, like, he's right in the middle right now. He a punk. Gosh, I wonder what that guy did.
I don't know.
Yeah, dude, no one knows. But
That's
he
somebody
was-
stole some money from you. That's
Slept with the wife.
yeah, and like, I mean, and he
Yeah.
had his boys with, like, I mean, I don't think your boys would roll up for adultery that hard.
No, yeah.
You know, I mean, I think they would have your back if it went the wrong way.
He was
Sure.
arrested for felony assault, and he was later released on, I think, $30,000 bond.
Yeah. He's no longer with the NFL Network. Let's just put it that way.
Oh yeah, dude. So to William McGinnis, someone that was very respected. He's one of the all-time greats for the Patriots organization. Dude, a great football player, and just always seemed like a nice dude. Just tanked his reputation, man. So to William McGinnis, ice up, son. Ice up. And then last, certainly not least, shout out to our brother, Nick Montero. Says, look for me in the corner of the end zone, the home team side. Boys, ice up, Tony. I have beer for you, by the way. He does. Very good
I
beer.
came and saw you guys. I know I live so far
You
away.
sure did.
You guys have a safe trip home. It's going to be cold. You guys are the most suited for this game out of anybody. I bet you they were trying to get a little respite from their own winter coming to a game down here, and now they get a cold game for us. So you guys, hopefully, Nick, you are. I want you to prove Drew wrong.
Yes,
prove Drew wrong.
Yeah.
It's you know what? We need more evidence that jinxes and superstitions are not real. Not less evidence, Cody. Like, no more silver hats and black on black. You either go all black or you don't come back.
Those blacks got to change to gloss, though. That flat black didn't look
You
good.
don't like it? You didn't love it?
No, I thought it was going to
Okay.
look good, but it didn't look good. It needs to be gloss black.
Didn't look bad, but I could see how I would like to see the gloss version. All right. That's the C3 Panthers podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. Tomorrow night we'll have a beat check for you. Still trying to work on some guests. If not, just Cody and I will bounce around some of the hot topics of going around on the beat. We'll check out the beat, much like we did late this evening, as well as we're going to try to get in a debate my take. Friday free for all, is that going down this week, this with the Christmas stuff, or what's? I know no post game show, guys. Look, I would love to make it happen, but too many familial obligations on Christmas Eve for me to even try to consider it. Like, we're just going to enjoy our time together with our families, watch the football game, and circle back to you guys on Tuesday night. Cody, any thoughts, or are you still kind of waiting to fill it out for Friday?
I'll probably do a Friday show.
Okay.
Probably just as my Merry Christmas to the C3 fans, especially since we're not doing a post-game show. So, yeah, we'll do a Friday free-for-all. That's every Friday at 7 p.m. where you can be a part of the show. It won't be a long show, but just enough for everybody to come in, break bread, and kind of say what they want. And if you would like to join the Friday free-for-all, you can do so. The link is always posted to the StreamYard in the chat room.
Just
So
don't show your ass.
Yeah, just don't show your ass doing a bunch of crazy shit you shouldn't be doing on our show. Damn it, it's a privilege.
Nerds.
Don't fuck it up. There's just one dude. There's one dude that tries to bomb us every fucking time, and he has all these tricks on how to jump into the show without being found out. Can't stand that dude. But yeah, every Friday at 7.
Get call it is stalking. CK, hit me up if you want to try to squeeze in a simulation tomorrow night or Thursday.
Yeah, we can always try that out.
You're
I
available.
completely forgot
You're
about
available.
the Saturday thing. But,
I'd rather have it. I mean, I know sometimes the Saturday's a good show, but if you guys I know it's a busy week, so we're gonna make sure we bring you guys the beat check, and we'll kind of leave. And Friday free for all, we're gonna try to get the other stuff in there. My name's Tony Dunn. You can follow me on Twitter at @cat_chronicles. Check out the C3 Panthers podcast. I really want you guys to subscribe on all the audio platforms, Spotify, TuneIn, wherever you get that. Give us a rating. Give us some feedback. Make sure you jump in the comments. Check out our clips that we're putting up, the shorts that we're going to be dropping out there. Help support our content just with the support of a thumbs up, a subscribe, even considering to be a C3 super fan and supporting the show. Happy holidays to everybody listening this late. You're the most beautiful people ever listening this late, and listen to me just continue to talk. Cody Lack, how can they get after you?
Yeah, find me on Twitter at Cody Lack, CODYLAC. And this isn't our last show of the year, is it?
No, we have a Tuesday show after Christmas. Will be the Tuesday, the 27th, and then that'll be our New Year's show.
New Year's Eve.
New Year's is on a Saturday night.
Yeah,
that's going to be
and a Friday show. Okay. Well, yeah, listen, very Merry Christmas to all those who celebrate, man. Much love. Safe traveling to all the families out there that are going to be out on the road. I wish everybody a happy, healthy, Merry Christmas. And hopefully Santa will give us a Panthers W at home this Saturday.
CK, how can they get after you?
You can find me at Codizzle Allen on most social media platforms. And then here on the Madden Simulations on Saturday night. But mainly on Tuesdays and post game, which again this week is going to be an anomaly as we play on Christmas Eve.
But we still haven't missed a Tuesday. We haven't missed our weekly content. Greg, how can they get after you?
You can find me at the BatDaddy52 on Twitter is my personal handle, or check out my other show, Geeks Chasing Squirrels Across the Multiverse. We usually go live 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, but this Friday we're taking a break. So check us out next week.
Okay.
Yeah, check us out next week. We're going to be covering year-end stuff, best shows, best television shows, movies, and books of the year, and worst. So it'll be fun.
All right. Wonderful. Cody Lack, take us out of here.
All right. C3 Panther Nation. Until next, keep pounding.